President Buhari receives certificate of improved security in civil aviation from the International Civil Aviation Organization.
Federal government to continue in collaboration with states to combat all forms of insecurity across the country.
IMF projects global economic growth at 3.4% in 2020.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall discuss ongoing efforts towards sustaining food security in Nigeria.
All right, Rhoda. Well, did you know that over 820 million people in the world are suffering from chronic undernourishment? In fact, data from the Food and Agriculture Organization, that's one of the agencies of the United Nations, reveals that 60% of women and nearly 5 million children under the age of 5 often die of malnutrition-related causes worldwide.
That's an alarming figure, I must confess, and that perhaps one of the reasons why October 16 is set aside as a global day of action for tackling world hunger. We focus on food as a basic and fundamental human right, as well as the need to ensure food security and nutritious diets for all.
Now, you'll recall that a Zero Hunger Challenge was launched by the former United Nations Secretary General, Ban Ki-moon, back in 2012 while he was still in office. Now, it was his personal vision of a world without hunger, and it made it a global call to action for all UN member states to work towards achieving zero hunger in their respective countries.
And keeping with that agreement, Nigeria's Zero Hunger Initiative was launched some years ago for the development of a roadmap towards making sure that Nigeria attains the global goal that world leaders have set to end chronic hunger, improve nutrition, achieve food security, and promote sustainable agriculture in the world by the year 2030. So Nigeria's goal is to achieve zero hunger even before the United Nations 2030 deadline.
Well, the Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Sabo Nanono, has come out to say categorically that Nigeria is producing enough food to feed itself and even send to neighboring countries. He said Nigeria only has inconveniences and that those inconveniences have been addressed by the federal government and relevant stakeholders such as the FAO, that is the Food and Agriculture Organization.
And he went further to also say that agriculture highlighted the dangers of obesity in the country. He asked Nigerians to balance their diet, particularly the aged, to eat balanced meals, to exercise regularly so as to shed weight and promote a healthy living.
Well, it's important to note, Rhoda, that even as millions of people are going hungry in different parts of the world, the FAO says that well over 600 million people suffer from obesity, while 1.3 million of the world's 7.7 billion population are currently overweight.
Well, food is not all we'll be discussing today on the program. The issue of security will also come up in the course of the program. The rise in crime and rampant abduction in many parts of Abuja in recent months has become a cause for concern for everyone in Abuja. You know, many residents have fallen victims to robbery in taxis, most of which are unpainted and run by criminals popularly called the One Chance. And, you know, we've had stories I think in the last couple of months, I can't just count how many stories that we've heard about this issue of, you know, insecurity in the city.
There's no doubt about that. I mean, from kidnapping for ransom, armed robbery, you know, car theft, and then the so-called One Chance. There was an incident some weeks ago where some of the One Chance robbers were apprehended, and then unfortunately they were lynched by the crowd on the outskirts of Abuja.
That was around
itself.
Kubwa axis.
Yeah, Kubwa axis. And just a couple of days ago, the Senate President also summoned a meeting on this issue of insecurity in the FCT. The minister and the police authorities and other security agencies were present at that meeting. So is Abuja unsafe, and how can the security be upgraded? Now, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Mohammed Bello, will be with us in the studio to speak on the security situation in the FCT and take questions on what is being done to ensure that Abuja remains safe for residents. It's on that note we'd like to welcome you to this edition of Good Morning Nigeria. My name is Kingsley Osadolo.
And I'm Rhoda Anonam. I join Kingsley welcoming you to today's program. As always, we broadcast live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority from our studios here in Abuja. As always, we'll bring you our complimentary segments. That includes the business, newspaper review, sports, and others. But as always, the news comes first, and Comfort Amodu is already seated here to give us the morning news. Comfort, good morning.
Good morning. Here's the morning news. President Muhammadu Buhari has expressed satisfaction with the revolutionary initiatives introduced by the Ministry of Aviation aimed at enhancing the desired safety and security in the nation's aviation sector. This is while receiving a certificate of improved security in civil aviation presented to Nigeria by the International Civil Aviation Organization.
I was delighted, more than delighted, to see that his energy, his passion, his drive, his counseling, his guidance has not gone down the drain. It has achieved us this certificate. It has brought about fame. It made us more secure. It has improved our aviation system, and we've scored 96%. So he was very, very glad and delighted that we achieved this.
Now, the federal government has reassured that it will continue to partner with state governments and stakeholders to combat all forms of insecurity across the country. This was the submission of some federal cabinet members at a special town hall meeting on security to press the fight against banditry, cattle rustling, and kidnapping in the northwest.
As you're all aware, one of the cardinal programs of the Buhari administration is to tackle insecurity across the country, whether it is Boko Haram, banditry, kidnapping, cattle rustling, or armed robbery.
I wish to assure you all that the Ministry of Defense and the entire armed forces are committed and will remain resolute in our efforts to facilitate the attainment of the federal government drive to guarantee the safety of lives and properties.
We are here to look at security and to let you know that our administration is fully conscious of its responsibilities to you on the issue of security.
Meanwhile, governors of Sokoto, Kebbi, and Zamfara states have reiterated commitment to work closely with traditional rulers and security agencies in the interest of curbing kidnapping and other security challenges. This came to the limelight at the town hall meeting organized by Sultanate Council, Sokoto, in collaboration with the Nigerian Union of Journalists, Sokoto State Council.
We tried to make some suggestions like speeding up constitutional review and also gun control.
We have to consider adopting the strategy of intensified campaign for behavioral change.
When there's moral behavior in the society, I tell you, the society will become.
And the Senate has passed the Deep Offshore and Inland Basin Production Sharing Contract Act Amendment Bill. The bill was set to have been passed less than 2 weeks after its introduction on the floor of the Senate. Meanwhile, the House of Representatives Committee on Petroleum Resources Upstream has expressed readiness to initiate legislative interventions towards enhanced operations in the petroleum sector for improved output. This, the committee believes, would translate into improved revenue generation for budget funding.
50 million people, they do not have oil, but their budget is well over $56 billion. I wonder what we can achieve with 10.3 trillion naira, and we know there is paucity of funds. This is just an estimate. These funds are not available. Who is supposed to provide that funds? Basically and mostly it is you, the NNPC.
Investors must be convinced that your laws will not change. You have a stable fiscal regime and they know the basis of their investment. And I believe that when we quickly resolve the issue of the fiscal legislation, it will be a mighty step towards getting our partners to invest in our country.
In talking sports, Ladan Boso looks favourite to land head coach role at Wiki Tourist, and Enugu Rangers head coach talks tough ahead of CAF Confederations Cup clash. Let's join our sport desk for details.
President of Nigerian Football Coaches Association, Ladan Boso, is on the fastest lane in the race to lead Nigeria Professional Football League MPFL side Wiki Tourist of Bauchi in the 2019-2020 domestic season, billed to get underway on November 3, 2019. This follows the departure of Eswal Gaffer Aliu Zubeiru, who turned in his exit papers on Monday, October the 14th. Boso was at the head of Gombe United Technical Affairs last term, even though the Savannah Scorpions could not sustain the heat of the top flight on their return from the lower league. Zubeiru joined the fold from Aqua United and exited his role at the Giant Elephants on Monday evening after just one season. Wiki Tourists will welcome Jigawa Golden Stars in Matchday 1 fixture of the 2019-2020 MPFL season, billed to get underway on November 3rd. Meanwhile, Enugu Rangers coach Benedict Ugu says his side has what it takes to go far in the season's CAF Confederations Cup. The Flying Antelopes conquered Gabonese side AS Pelican to set up an interesting clash with ASC Kara, the reigning Togolese League champions, in the next round of the Confederations Cup. Ugu believed his side are favourites going into the clash, but admitted their opponents deserved to be respected. Rangers will travel to Lome to face ASC Kara at Stade Kegwe on October 27th, before hosting their opponents in the return leg a week later at the Nnamdi Azikiwe Stadium in Enugu.
That's the news highlights. For now, Good Morning Nigeria continues shortly with Rhoda and Kinsley after the break. Don't go away.
The new edition of TV Guide is out, exclusively taking a look at the traditional television and new media. Are they comparable or complementary? Media industry players give perspective on the trends, progress, challenges, and the way forward. Find out on this compelling edition of TV Guide. Expository interviews with stars of the team within our space. Becky Madojemo of NTA, Utibe Umore of AIT, Nifemi Oguntai of TVC, and a host of others. TV Guide, your indispensable companion, also feature Iya Modina.
I'm the CEO, managing director of Iya Modina Sister Restaurant. I choose to serve. Shut up your mouth. Let me finish.
A TV drama series on NTA. Let's get to meet the characters behind Iya Modina. This edition also presents exciting features on tourism, culture, entertainment, sports, health, and lots more. Grab a copy at the vendors near you or any NTA station nationwide. TV Guide, your indispensable companion.
Ha! Not so fast. Look, I'm tired. I want to check out of this country for greener pastures.
Just calm down for a moment. Please sit down. Do you have a job where you're going to?
No, but someone is arranging,
Listen, Alinko. Checking out of this country without proper planning means one thing. Unimaginable begin. You know, I've been in the diaspora, but legitimately doing great things at home and abroad. As I've been saying, without the proper footing abroad, the risk is not worth it. Listen, Alinko, it's better to be home than be trapped abroad or even end up in prison.
an award that has succeeded to pool a galaxy of stars from the north, south, east to the west, and central Africa, and also those that are domiciled beyond the shores of Africa under one roof.
Abeokuta is 40. Come, let's celebrate 40 years of impressive TV broadcasting at the grassroots. On Thursday, 17th October 2019, there'll be a lecture titled Lens and Sound, Television, a tool for social reorientation and good governance. Guest lecturer, Professor Oluyemisi Oluremi Obiladi, Professor of Education and Women's Studies, Obafemi Awolowo University. Special guest of honor, His Excellency Prince Dapo Abiodun, Governor of Ogun State. Royal Father of the Day, His Royal Majesty Oba Adedotun Aremu Gbadebo, the Alake and Pramontrola of Egbaland. Chairman of the occasion, Chief Olatunde Anyela Abudu, Mayegun of Egbaland. Chief Host, Malam Yakubu Ibn Mohammed, Director General, NTA. Other activities lined up for the occasion include an array of awards to distinguished entities, Health Walk on Saturday, 12th October 2019, while a novelty match comes up on Tuesday, 15th October 2019 at MKO Abiola Stadium. Come, celebrate 40 years of impressive television at the grassroots with us and take NCA Abeokuta to the next level.
Welcome back, and if you've just joined us, you're watching Good Morning Nigeria live on the NTA. Now, the International Monetary Fund seeks to implement the African Continental Free Trade Agreement in hopes of strengthening ties amongst African countries. These and more on our business news segment with Abdul Karim Zuri.
The International Monetary Fund has advocated expedition of the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement among African countries with a view to deepen regional integrations among African countries and trade growth in the region. Chimaobi Walter Naji in Washington, D.C. reports that this was during the World Economic Outlook for 2019, which is projected to pick up slightly amidst the trade tensions between the U.S. and China and the sharp decline in foreign direct investment globally.
And an important part of that was basically weakness in the oil sector. So in the weakness as in lower oil production, tied to new OPEC plus rules. So the lower oil production is one of the factors for the downgrade for 2019. But we expect things to improve, and in fact, the non-oil sector has been doing better.
The IMF noted that though agriculture is picking up in Nigeria, the growth indices still remains weak. And now we head to the fall of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. With business news, Abdul Karim Zurmi.
Thank you very much, Abdul Karim Zurmi, for the business package. Next for us, we'll look at the front pages of the papers we have this morning.
Bayo Toyebi is already in the studio this morning to give more insight into our review. Bayo, good morning.
Thank you, Rhoda. Good morning. Good morning, Kinsley.
Right, Bayo, good to see you.
Yeah.
All right, let's begin with the Punch newspaper. Punch newspaper, the lead story for the Punch says Labour suspends planned strike. And talks continue today with two riders. Workers demand documents. as federal government hikes salary adjustments. In Lagos, we pay more than 30,000 naira, says Governor Sanwo-Olu. Details of that story can be found on page 2. Then, above the nameplate of the Punch newspaper, we have the following headlines. Border closure pushed inflation to 11.2%, and that's attributed to the Bureau of Statistics. Details on page 27. 5 suits threatened federal government's $62 billion recovery from IOCs. IOCs, it's International Oil Corporations. Details on page 11. Buhari asks Senate to approve 10 billion naira for Kogi. Buhari asks Senate to approve 10 billion naira for Kogi. That's page 19. 2 earpieces beside the nameplate. IMF recommends unified exchange rate for Nigeria. And federal government debt rises to 25.7 trillion naira. Now, there are other headlines that I will take after Rhoda has gone through hers.
All right. I think most of the stories trending on the Punch this morning is the same. Just the lead story that's kind of different, but most of them you've just read, Kingsley, is what's also on the Daily Sun. And let's take the one just beside the nameplate. It's on the minimum wage. Federal government backs down, makes concession. Meeting continues today as Labour shuns Rep Parley. That's on page 6. And the lead story, just as I indicated, is what's different. Senate in job scandal. Allocation of job slots at government agencies tear lawmakers apart. Will expose, probe those involved, says committee chair. Those are the riders to the lead story there. Senate in job scandal. Let's now go below the picture story. Buhari approves 10.06 billion naira for Kogi government, 6 National Assembly approval. That's on page 12 of the Daily Sun. P&ID scam, Petroleum Resources ex-director's absence stall trial. And Oshomale Obaseki rift gets messier. APC chairman accuses governor of planning to dump party. You prefer talks to security agents. Governor fires back. That's on page 39. And of course, at the foot of the paper, inflation hits 11.24% as food prices rise. That's on page 2. All right, but let's begin with the minimum wage issue. Labour had planned on going or started calling for workers to get ready for a strike.
Yes, indeed, workers were supposed to have been called out today to boycott work today, but apparently last-minute meeting between the Labour and government officials have at least brought in a temporary reprieve. In the meantime, both parties are beginning to shift grounds in the sense that the negotiations have not been concluded, but there are some movement as regards the positions that was adopted. Prior to yesterday, Labour had reached 29% for those on level 7 to 14 and 24% for those on level 15 to 17. Federal government position was 11% for those on the 7 to 14 and 6.5% for those in the lower rank. But as at yesterday, Labour has gone down from 29% from those on level 7 to 14 to 20%, while those on level 15 to 17, Labour has gone down from Labour has now gone down to 21%, I think. Now, on the side of the federal government has also gone up from 11% to 17% for those on level 7 to 14, and for those on level 15 to 17, federal government has gone up from 6.5% to about 15%, so that, if that reports in the papers are anything to go by. So they are narrowing the gap, and gradually we are hoping that they will reach a consensus, and joy will see an end to this debacle. Meanwhile, the Minister of Labour has emphasized that Labour should desist from misinforming workers, in the sense that what they are doing now is consequential adjustment, not wage review. And therefore, as far as minimum wage is concerned, that has been done, and those within that bracket have been paid, and the arrears have been paid.
All right. Well, you know, the story of whether we're going to go on strike or not, you know, there's a breakaway faction of NLC, yes, which is led by Joe Ajero, that's ULC, as they are called, United Labour Congress, said that the strike was going to fail if it was called, because critical sectors that would make the strike successful were left out of the decision. So assuming there was a call for a strike, then they might have had some challenges with respect to those unions that are loyal, as it were, to the faction of that. There's another point that the Minister of Labour and Productivity made, and that's a very crucial point. And Bayo, you had raised this in the past on Good Morning Nigeria. I'm sure by the time they are through with the negotiations and whatever agreements they reach on this new wage increase, as it were, across the board, the government, of course, will have to look at the many wage structures in the economy. And the Labour Minister says he is the co-chair of a committee along with the Minister of Finance. Report indicates that there are at least 12 wage structures in the operating in the economy. You have different entities that have their own wage structures, and sometimes what they earn is more than 300% than what those who are in the public service or in the civil service actually earn. You've talked about this in the past, Bayo.
Yes, the president had even hinted about this earlier in the year, that there will be a review and harmonization of salary in the public service. What is happening is very, very inconsiderate, in the sense that you have public officers in the civil service. There is the general grade level that they earn. But when you go to the parastatals of the same government agency, you have disparities, some 200% increase, others 300, some even more. And somehow, the rate at which they heighten and increase their salaries doesn't take a recourse to the National Commission for Salaries and Wages. And therefore, they appear to be very independent. And not only that, they also have humongous allowances that are also not taken into consideration. At the end of the day, the Honorable Minister, in fact, alluded to this. He said he is to chair a committee that will look into it. But because it is not fair, you find that the civil service has a strict criteria for recruiting. They take very 2-1 first-class officers into the public service. Others, by influence, get employment in this high-level employment. And also, you find a tendency among young people. They are very choosy about where they look for employment. And it is causing a lot of disparity in the public service. Elsewhere in other countries, if you are peers and you graduated, you'll be earning the same thing. The differences will be only related to the allowances peculiar to your own calling. And that is what you have.
Yeah, and those allowances aren't just out of the air. I mean,
No.
they must be related to the nature of work that you do. In addition to that, the minister also says that there will be a review of the earnings by political office holders. So one leg of it is what the Salaries and Wages Commission will deal with, which is the 12-wage structure that the economy has to grapple with in the public service. The other is the earnings and allowances by political office holders, which is usually fixed by the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission.
Yes, the salaries are fixed by the Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Allocation Commission. The challenge with the political office holders is not the salaries. The challenge is with the allowances, which they hiking on their own.
No, Bayo, I believe it's both. It's both. Look, okay. Both the salaries and the allowances. The allowances, they have a range. To say, for instance, I mean, if you are a special advisor or a special assistant or a commissioner or a minister, your DTA will be so much.
Yes.
You can't go outside of that. I mean, the finance department or those in account DFA would not permit that. If you are traveling abroad, what is your extra code? All those are fixed by the Revenue Mobilization Allocation. So that is what will have to be looked into. The last exercise was in 2006, you recall. And President Obasanjo then thought that, look, if you improved the earnings of political office holders, then they might be dissuaded from raiding the treasury. You know. But of course, I hope that when they are doing this, they will also address the disparity in the earnings between directors and permanent secretaries.
Not only that, directors are public officers. Permanent secretaries are public officers. Director, by the time he's end his career, he will get his pension from the contributory pension scheme. But the permanent secretary takes his salary for life.
Absolutely. But the disparity in the salaries is, I mean, it's over 300%. In the meantime, they are all equals as directors, and it's on the basis of your state or your zone that you get to be appointed as a permanent secretary.
Yes.
All right, very quickly, let's take a look at the photographs on the front page of the Punch newspaper. And the headline there says, Air Force wings first female fighter pilots. You can see the two female pilots there, fighter pilots there of the Nigerian Air Force with the Honorable Minister of Women Affairs and the Chief of Air Staff. Other headlines, military's 847 Boko Haram victims buried in Borno Cemetery. It's according to Senator Aliu Dume, page 42. Federal Capital Territory, that's the kicker. 3 children abducted, 2 killed. Lawan meets service chiefs and minister on worsening insecurity. And El-Rufai presents 258 billion naira budget to Assembly.
Congratulations to the Nigerian Air Force. In its 55 years of existence, it has trained so far 67 pilots. And the latest group includes 2 fighter pilots who are women. One is Kafayat Sani and the other is Toriola Ariole. And it was also the first time a non-commissioned officer has risen to a specific rank in the Nigerian Air Force. And that is very, very much interesting. The women are also stepping in, particularly in the theater of war.
All right, Bayo, I guess that's so much we can take on our review this morning. We'll see you again tomorrow morning.
Thank you.
All right, we'll take a short break now, and we have 2 items for discussion this morning. The first one is on the security situation in the FCT, and of course, we're looking at food security much later, so stay with us.
They are there at the crack of dawn. They are there busy preparing while we rise for our day. They are there silently, guarding, waiting, listening, and watching. They are there ready in the sky above and the waters below, in the blistering heat of the day, in the dead of night, willing, indefatigable, determined in the defense of the sovereignty of our country. They are our first line of defense and our last. They who have paid the ultimate price in defending us. They are fathers and uncles. They are mothers and sisters and girlfriends and boyfriends. They are brothers and cousins and best friends and neighbors. They are classmates, colleagues, and citizens of this nation. They are our defenders and deserve our respect, our prayers, our thoughts. Nigeria, please support our armed forces.
What we are really cultivating here is a better future for all Nigerian women, and it's not always easy. Panadol Extra relieves headache, backache, joint pain, toothache, and menstrual pain. The pain is worth it.
Zuma Film Festival 2019. Theme: Content Connectivity. Date: 1st to 7th December 2019. Venues: Jabi Lake Mall and NAF Conference Center, Abuja. Submission of film entries opens July 1st and closes October 30th, 2019. All film entries are to be submitted through the Film Freeway, www.filmfreeway.com/Zuma Film Festival. For sponsorship, partnership, participation, and other inquiries, please call 003-3146-842 or 003-6740997 or 006-3390-420. Visit zumafilmfestival.gov.ng or email zumafilmfestival@gmail.com. Nigerian Film Corporation, powering possibilities.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Prince, did you hear that?
Of course I did. That is Village Headmaster tune.
Eh? So Auntie Amebo was not gossiping then?
Village Headmaster is celebrating 50 years.
50? Already?
Wait, you mean people have been watching Village Headmaster since 1968? How time flies. I have retired, but not tired.
And now 50 years now. So because of that, we won't get big party.
New date, now 28th to 29th October 2019.
Me and my body invite you now, and my belly just is sweet. Because I don't say all those people they drink my palmy, then go come drink the tombo again. And me, radio jam, they call you now. una no forget it.
NTA Abeokuta is 40. Come, let's celebrate 40 years of impressive TV broadcasting at the grassroots. On Thursday, 17th October 2019, there'll be a lecture titled Lens and Sound, Television, a tool for social reorientation and good governance. Guest lecturer, Professor Oluyemisi Oluremi Obiladi, Professor of Education and Women's Studies, Obafemi Awolowo University. Special guest of honor, His Excellency Prince Dapo Abiodun, Governor of Ogun State. Royal Father of the Day, His Royal Majesty Oba Adedotun Aremu Gbadebo, the Alake and Paramount Ruler of Egbaland. Chairman of the occasion, Chief Olatunde Anyela Abudu, Mayegun of Egbaland. Chief Host, Malam Yakubu Ibn Mohammed, Director General, NTA. Other activities lined up for the occasion include an array of awards to distinguished entities, Health Walk on Saturday, 12th October 2019, while a novelty match comes up on Tuesday, 15th October 2019 at MKO Abiola Stadium. Come, celebrate 40 years of impressive television at the grassroots with us and take NCA Abeokuta to the next level.
All right, welcome back. And it's still Good Morning Nigeria live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Our first topic for discussion this morning is on the rising insecurity in Nigeria's Federal Capital Territory. And to set it tone, let's get this background from our correspondent, Shoaibu Yakubu.
Number one is people have been complaining about CCTV. When somebody knows that there is somebody watching you, I believe that with that CCTV, we have CCTV in every nooks and cranny of the city, like maybe also in public spaces, on the highways, you know, with that consciousness that if you do something, it may get caught later.
Cases of insecurity and criminal activities like one chance incident in Dutse Alaji and the kidnapping of 9 persons by yet to be identified gunmen in Pegi, Kuje Area Council have continued to agitate the minds of the residents. They are calling on security agencies to tinker their strategy and tighten loose ends to contain the new criminal onslaught.
In the city, there are so many flash points. For example, Apo Under Bridge. Around 10 to 11, there are bad guys there that will snatch cars, snatch handsets, and run away. When you go to Banex Bridge, also, they are there. Gishiri Bridge, that side, Maitama area, they are always there, snatching bags, snatching handsets.
You see this National Mosque area there? On several occasions, you know, I have about 2 people that were, you know, robbed there.
Internal security is the job of the police. And if they have all the equipment they need and they are able to patrol, like this particular place where we are now, in standard countries, every 5 minutes a police patrol van will pass here.
We need to properly engage our citizens. Nigeria has to put policies in place. The government is trying their best, to be fair, but we need more policies, more people-friendly policies that will gainfully engage Nigerian citizens.
During the recent Security Committee meeting, which had in attendance heads of security agencies, area council chairmen, traditional religious leaders, FCT Minister Muhammad Musa Bello reaffirmed the safety of the territory. He called on the residents not to leave security matters in the hands of the law enforcement agencies alone. To proffer a solution to the spike in criminal activities in the FCT, experts believe that security agencies must improve their intelligence in the vulnerable communities to ensure the protection of lives and property of the citizenry.
Thank you very much, Onotu Shoaibu Yakubu. Thank you so much for that background report. But we have with us 2 guests in the studio here to actually discuss the issue. We have Adamu Buba Gwari. He is the Director Security of the Federal Capital Territory. Adamu Buba Gwari, thank you for coming on the program.
Good morning, thank you.
And of course, the Chief Security Officer of the FCT, and that's Bala Chiroma, the Commissioner of Police, FCT Command. Good morning and welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Good morning, thank you.
All right, gentlemen, the Director of Security of the FCT is sitting in for the Honorable Minister of the Federal Capital Territory. Earlier in the program, we had indicated that he will be with us for the conversation, but he sent in the Director in charge of security in the Federal Capital Territory. You'll listen to our background by our correspondent, and daily there are reports as to what's played out in the Federal Capital Territory. Kidnapping for ransom, armed robbery, the so-called one chance perpetrated by criminal gangs operating in taxi cabs. Okay. You also have car theft in parking lots and elsewhere, assault, on ladies, snatching of handbags and cell phones, and a cloud of insecurity in and around the Federal Capital Territory and in Abuja city itself. What is happening?
Good morning, Nigeria. The situation as it is, the FCT administration is not unaware about the rising cases of insecurity. However, sometimes the information goes beyond the way it was, but that notwithstanding, the FCT administration is doing everything possible to ensure the safety and security of the territory. So the administration always give the necessary support in terms of logistics to the security agencies to ensure that all nooks and crannies of the territory, including the rural areas, are covered. It is a difficult situation despite the paucity of fund and budgetary issue. The administration is doing all what it takes to ensure the provision of security and support to the security agencies to do what it takes to ensure the safety and security of citizenry.
But it appears that what you are doing isn't enough. Otherwise, we won't be hearing of these complaints on a regular basis.
Yes.
Is the city under siege? I mean, let's face it.
As I said earlier, the situation is not the way as it is reported. We know there is flashpoints, and all effort is being made to identify such flash points and make sure that the security agencies are adequately informed. That's why we have the FCT call center, where we receive information from members of the public to ensure that such places are adequately identified, and we communicate same to action agencies to provide security to such flashpoint. It is work ongoing, and we give the assurance of the administration that the FCT will be safe and secure.
All right, thank you very much, Adamu Bubegwari. Let's get the thoughts of Bala Chiroma. I once said on this program, if you pick up your phone now and you Google one of the safest cities to stay in Nigeria, Abuja would pop up, if not the first or the second. Many of us have lived in the city for quite a while, but what we're seeing right now is not how it used to be. You could walk around. Abuja used to be a night city. You could go around any time. Most time, people preferably want to go out at night, rather than even go out during the day. At night, the city is safe, but what we see now, the case is different. What is actually happening?
Good morning once again. I want to reassure you that Abuja is still safe. There is nightlife still going on. But I want you to also take into cognizance the inflow of people into Abuja. The number of people you had in Abuja a few years ago is not what we have now. There is an influx of people into Abuja, all looking for green pasture, right? Some of them come, they end up without jobs, but they don't go back. During the political era, some came in but they're still within Abuja. But be that as it may, the crime is not something that is static. It kind of changes, metamorphosizes, right? You can identify 10 flashpoints now. Do your deployment. The criminals always want to have an upper hand. You take care of these 10 flashpoints, another 10 will emerge. It is your responsibility as a security agency to always be on top of your game. Once new flashpoints emerge, you also strategize, rejig your system to take care of emerging flashpoints.
Well, Commissioner of Police, I mean, you are aware of the meeting convened by the Senate President.
I was in the meeting.
Precisely, the National Security Advisor and several other persons were present at the meeting. And if there wasn't any concern as to the rising level of insecurity in the FCT, perhaps that meeting would have been unnecessary. But what exactly are you noticing in terms of the nature and frequency of certain kinds of criminal activities in the FCT? Because we just read a report from the papers of how we were having abductions and persons are also being killed in the process. These are persons, some of them civil defense officers have also been kidnapped.
Well, my answer to that is we've noticed that there's an emerging trend of crime within the FCT. Specifically, what we did not used to have started emerging by way of kidnapping. Maybe you're referring to the kidnapping at Kuje, a village settlement called Pegi.
That's right.
Where hoodlums operated, and we came in. Now, you'll notice that this has been going on in maybe states that have been around Abuja and other parts of the country while we remained relatively calm in the FCT. Our security situation was stable in the FCT. However, trends emerging from other states is that there is kind of security agencies are moving against these people, and governments are probably negotiating with these people. So most of them are leaving where they are and moving to other places. Unfortunately, we happen to be one of the recipient locations where they are coming to. Thinking about how they operate in other states is that they block highways and then kidnap people. Contingency arrangements was made for that. However, when it came into Abuja, we found out that they were operating in a difficult terrain. Now, what do I mean by difficult terrain? Range of mountains maybe around Kuje area. This is a very difficult terrain. Maybe motorable road is only up to Pegi. From Pegi, you have a range of mountains that emerges from Pegi, and it goes up to Ruboch. So it gave them some latitude. Now, what we've done as responsible security agents is that we've come on board and said, no, this will not be allowed to go on. There is synergy between the security agencies, and we've mobilized and also deployed into these particular locations to ensure that we checkmate their activities. This is not going to be a lasting future within FCT. We will not accept this particular type of crime within FCT. All arrangements are being made, all hands are on deck, and that is what one of the things that we discussed in the Senate President's office. The FCT minister is quite kind of helpful in terms of assisting security agencies live up to expectations. On our own part, we're also trying to mobilize members of the public to come on board with us. Security is everybody's concern. Come on board with us, give us information, let us assist, let us be able to render you quality service.
We'll get to that aspect of, how you are liaising with the communities as to how you get information from them, so as to help the security situation. But Adamu Bubagwari, a lot of residents have actually complained about the issue of street lights in Abuja. Take, for instance, Airport Road. If you go through the Jabi, going towards Jabi Airport Road, I'm not talking, the whole of that, once it's 6:30, personally I don't take that route. The whole of that area, sometimes when you drive through the airport road at night, I'm talking about 9-10, the street lights are not on. Some of them are on, some of them are not working, even in the city center. What is happening?
The street lightning, as you are aware, the issue of light is a national issue. However, the Facilities Management and Maintenance Department are always been informed as regard to areas where maybe the bulbs get burnt because of light fluctuation and what have you, to replace such places. And in most cases, the issue is not that the lights are not working, but the light is not there. But the administration is thinking out of the box as regard to the source of the power, that's the national grid, to see the possibility of deploying solar facilities, at least to ensure.
Just a second. Are you saying that most of the street lights in Abuja are not solar? They are powered by...
Yes, they are. They are not solar. They are mostly powered by the national grid source of power. That's why you see the fluctuation sometimes affects the bulbs that are fixed there. But that notwithstanding, it is something that has been noticed, that the necessity for migrating to solar, at least to ensure the light are always there, in addition to the one powered by the national grid. So it is something that is ongoing, and we identify such issue that militate against the effective security in terms of lightning, because that is one of the area where the hoodlums take cover and perpetrate their crime. So it is.
But Airport Road doesn't have at all. It's not an issue of not having bulbs. Now let's take, for instance, the Jabi Airport access. There's no.
That road is still to be expanded. As you notice, the Jabi interchange that is coming from Gwarimpa has 2 lanes, but that one is only one, and that expansion is to be carried out soon, so that you have that dualized. This is from that Gwarimpa roundabout down to the NJI interchange. So it has to be completed before.
I was just wondering, Adamu Gwari.
Yes.
We have seen the power situation in the country, and you said thinking out of the box. I mean, solar street lighting is not thinking out of the box. It's become commonplace. It's been around, for since virtually 1999. A number of politicians made heavy weather about it, at the beginning. What some state governments have done, Lagos, for instance, is to deploy emergency generators. Bank Anthony Way was one of the first beneficiaries of that. They put the generator or two beside the old Nitel office. I'm not sure if you're very familiar with Lagos. You know what I'm talking about. And some other locations. Other state governments have also adopted that strategy. I mean, the lights are only on at night. But in addition to what my colleague Rhoda is talking about, it isn't just on that Jabi NJI, that's the Judicial Institute access. It's in perpetual darkness. I mean, there are no street lights. But elsewhere, where you have street lamps, those lamps, they are dark. Whole stretches on the so-called expressways that you have around the city. So why is it difficult to power this, apart from the fact that you have power rationing or power fluctuation from the public supplier?
Yes, I said those are the issues really identified as militating against the problem and generating to insecurity. And the administration, as I said, is doing everything to ensure that such issues are addressed effectively, because we believe that with the provision of adequate lighting in the night, such issue of crime will drastically reduce, if not eliminated.
Okay, now let's come back to daytime. Your FCDA is just near us here, and Aegis is also near us here. There have been reports of car theft in your parking lots. I know that there is a usual disclaimer put in public parking spaces that cars are parked at owner's risk. But somebody who is coming to the FCDA is coming to transact business. And if you have no business to do at the FCDA, you won't be there. So why are you not going to be having some anxiety over whether or not your vehicle will be safe? Just what is happening with regard to car theft in the FCT, particularly at public premises.
You see, the issue of this car theft, we usually link it to the issue of demography. When you find there is a lot of influx of people into the city, where there are various and so many characters that are coming. And the question of the security in public places is of great concern to the FCT administration, particularly areas like the Federal Secretariat, the FCDA here, and other places like Market. The meeting that was conducted there with the Senate President is ICT is to be deployed in terms of supporting the security agencies to ensure that such places are covered with CCTV, at least to dissuade the perpetrator of such crime. Once, if there is issues like that one, even if the crime is committed, it's easily to trace and get the perpetrators of such crime. And once, if such things are available, definitely it will reduce
Do you
the
have
problem.
CCTV at the FCDA parking lot?
Yes, there is this Safe City project that is ongoing now. Installation, the FCDA complex, edges, and the FCDA secretariat is covered. And this part of the Area 11 is also considered because it's an ongoing project right now. And the control room is warehouse at the FCTA secretariat.
Remember earlier, he was talking just before we bring in the Commissioner of Police again. You talked earlier about a call center.
Yes.
What is the number?
FCT call center.
Yes.
You spoke about it.
Yeah, you spoke about it earlier.
Yes.
You say that there is a call center. Anyone, of course, who who encounters any situation.
Is that different from that of the police? And if it is, what is the number?
It's not different from that. It's different from that of the police.
Okay.
The call center number, the different forum, the head of the call center used to display such numbers. But right now, I don't have the number offhand.
You don't remember,
The call center essentially receives complaints from members of the public, and they channel it to action organizations like mine.
Okay.
The number of the call center is 112.
Wait.
It's just a three-digit number, 112.
Okay, we know 112. 112 is
emergency.
That's the general. What you are talking about is quite different.
Yes, it's
from 112.
It's different. The 112 is the emergency.
Yes.
Number.
But you're saying now that the FCT has its own
call number.
All right. Maybe can we advise Adamu Bagwari, while we are still on this conversation, if any of your aides or any of your colleagues is listening, and the person can remember the FCT call number for security purposes, they can send it to you so that before we sign you off, you let us know, and then we of course give it to members of the public, particularly those who are resident in the Federal Capital Territory. We recognize that, of course, you deal with a lot of information.
Yes.
So we need to have that information with regard to the FCT call center for emergencies. But the police, of course, is 112, as the Commissioner of Police has said.
Yeah.
But CP, now, when we had a wave of terrorist attacks in the Federal Capital Territory, one of the measures that was devised was to say, look, for business premises, usually plazas and elsewhere, they were advised to install CCTVs to monitor movements in and out. How much of that is still in practice? Not just against terrorists, but also, just for normal security, so that when you say you are calling for the assistance from members of the public, this is one way that members of the public can be of assistance to you. They say, look, there is a business premises, we have a CCTV that records the movements of people, and if you find anything funny, if the person parks his or her car there, and then the person comes out and is looking for the car in the gutter, when there's no gutter nearby, you know that something has gone wrong. So what is happening now with regard to the observance of that directive for the installation of CCTVs in large business premises?
Honestly, my assessment is that a lot of business concerns are complying with that, most especially hotels, banks, and major plazas within the Federal Capital Territory. In the course of our duties, it has assisted us in unraveling some of the crimes that have been perpetrated. Just as you said, pointed out, that is true. They are vital instruments in policing the society, and we've reaped the benefits of installation of the CCTV by business concerns and helped us unravel a lot of cases.
I'd like you to speak to the issue of one chance. It has become an everyday thing in Abuja. It's rising. Every day there is an issue of one chance in Abuja. Just lately, I know about a week ago or 2 weeks ago, some of those, they were caught along Kubwa Road, and it's barbaric, and we condemn it at all levels. I know they were burnt, but then what are you doing about that?
As I told you, as I keep on saying it, this is what we have done. We assessed crimes within FCT, and we discovered that one chance is one of the major crimes that disturbs residents of the FCT. Therefore, we decided to create a special unit that will take care of one chance within our CID. Okay. We had different units within the CID, but because of the significance and the importance we attach to protecting citizens of the FCT from one chance gang robbers, we created the anti-one chance unit. Okay. Brought in some people who specialize on dealing with this one chance of a thing. They've been quite successful. We've impounded quite a number of vehicles and arrested quite a number of syndicates. And that is not just what we've done. We've also embarked on synergy with other establishments, such as the VIO and the road safety. Because this was as a result of our observation that most of the one chance that is done is being done with unpainted taxis. And therefore we said one of the best ways of reducing the incidence of one chance was just trying to remove these unpainted taxis from the streets. We've been doing this, picking them up, arresting them, prosecuting them in mobile courts.
CP, what have you learned, for instance, from the one chance operators who have been arrested by your men? What, so that members of the public can take requisite precaution? We know that, I mean, I hear about some flashpoints or dangerous zones where they are more prevalent. What do we know about their modus operandi?
What we know about their modus operandi is that most of them, from the word one chance, is that most of them, when they come, they say there is just one chance, so quickly come in. And you find out that you are going into a vehicle with 2 or 3 people already in that particular vehicle. Therefore, most of them, they are members of the same gang. Therefore, you are the only person that is alone there. So when you enter, you are at their mercy. So residents have to be very careful of watchful. Their security, first of all, your security, first of all, is in your hands. You have to be careful. Watch the vehicles you enter. If you notice anything suspicious, you could also call the security agencies or avoid entering that vehicle, get another vehicle and enter.
All right, let's quickly take the tweets that we have coming in from our viewers via Twitter handle at NTAGMN. This one is from Mike Anyako. It says, it's very unfortunate that security is still a challenge in the country, especially in the seat of power, Abuja. Particularly, security agencies should roll up their sleeves and stamp out this menace in its entirety. The general public on their part should also endeavor to give useful information to the police.
Now, Dada Stephen has this tweet. Are we going to deploy the already overstretched military to the streets of Abuja? Now, state police is needed. We will restructure one day, whether we like it or not.
And this one is from Abbas Abubakar Sahad. It says, concerning security in the FCT, cameras need to be installed in all strategic locations in the city.
Nsima Splendid. Now, the state of insecurity in the nation's capital is worrisome and calls for some drastic measures. However, we should not forget where we are coming from with regard to the past, where the FCT was attacked at will by Boko Haram terrorists.
And the last one is from Sunny Michael Omakoju. It says the security situation in the FCT is giving a bad image to the nation as a one chance. That's one chance, and snatching of handbags are now an everyday affair, on our city architecture. So I think there needs to be a proactive move to curb this trend. Those are the tweets that we have.
We're talking about CCTV between the Director of Security in the FCT and Police Commissioner. Some years ago, CCTV cameras were installed in major locations in Abuja city itself. Unfortunately, a good many of them have been accidented, broken down, and there's virtually nothing. I mean, somebody will say, look, this is just a license for any person to carry out any criminal activity and go undetected. I mean, in the absence of that, what is likely to be done with regard to rehabilitating those CCTVs? I believe they're still in good condition once they are rehabilitated, or once they are, of course, revitalized. Very quickly before we sign it off.
Appropriate measures have been in place because the one that was put some time back you referred to, vandalized or knocked down by drink and drive drivers. And as such, now that we are trying to revive it, appropriate measures are in place to ensure the safety of such equipment.
All right. Very quickly, I'd like the Balachi Roman, the Commissioner of the FCT, to give us the emergency numbers of the FCT.
We have about 4 lines in our control room.
Okay.
It's manned 24 hours. Anybody with an emergency call can always call any of the numbers.
Okay.
Lay your complaints. We have patrol vehicles that are located in strategic locations. Immediately you call, we deploy the closest patrol vehicle to come to your aid. One of the lines is 080 3200.
I'm sorry, Police Commissioner, those numbers are already there on the screen.
Okay.
Our viewers, of course, if we can have those numbers again, probably a bit clumsy for anybody to immediately remember.
Yeah.
Your patrols, why in general are they static? It's probably so easy for any person to beat any of those patrols. Where are your foot patrol officers? Where are your vehicles, going through the locations where you see that the vehicles are parked in one location and then the criminals appear to just be outflanking them?
It's not about just parking them in one location. Most of these locations that we've parked them are flashpoints that have been identified. It will be unfortunate if we've identified flashpoints and we're not able to deploy there. We allow people be attacked in those locations. Those vehicles are not entirely static. At certain times, like close of time, we know strategic areas where people are most likely to be attacked. So we deploy them there and they remain there until a certain time, maybe when commuters would have already dispersed from that location. We allow them the liberty of moving from one location to the other. However, we still require more patrol vehicles to be deployed to more black spots that have been identified within the metro.
Very quickly,
as I told you,
have you gotten any support from the FCT in terms of giving you vehicles to man the city?
Yes, we have. Most of the vehicles are given by FCT.
Okay.
And we also receive support in terms of the maintenance, so on and so forth.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, Police Commissioner, thank you very much. Adamu Gwari, we had indicated that if any of your colleagues had their sets on, they could oblige you with the numbers. I think that you have those numbers now.
Yeah.
Very quickly.
The FCT call number, we have 4 numbers. We have 080 99 93 6312. And there are 3 numbers, 121314.
Okay. So just to change the last
yes.
digits.
Just go over that
Then
again.
the 4th number is 070 80 63 15 100.
All right.
And then go over it again. So
yes.
that,
080 99 936312. Those are 3 numbers, 121314.
All right, just on that note, we'd like to thank you, Adamu Bubagwari, Director of Security of Federal Capital Territory Administration.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Nigeria. We also would like to thank the Commissioner for Police, FCT, Balachi Roma. Thank you very much for being with us. We do hope that when next we get you on the program, the figures would have climbed down. The fact that these are ember months, it's virtually, and some persons will say immaterial, because the figures had been climbing even before we got into September. So on that note, of course, we would like to, end our first topic. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll be dealing with food security in the country.
For more than 10 years, NTA Educational Television has continued to champion the discovery of young scientists and artists across the country. The 2019 National Children's Expo promises to bring to light the best of innovations and creativity in the science and arts categories. Theme: promoting unity and innovations in youths as agents of change through science and arts. Venue: NTA Headquarters Arena, Area 11, Garki, Abuja. Date: Sunday, October 20th to Thursday, October 24th, 2019. For more information, please call the following numbers. This event is proudly supported by NTA ETV, promoting learning.
Move now! The red light won't kill you! Move now!
Today, disobey traffic law. They cause accidents. Me, I don't talk, say, I no go dey do am again, because change begins with me.
I will no longer endanger my life crossing the express. Instead, I will use the bridge, because change begins with me.
Oga driver, stop this bus now, won't come down. I be one carry me pass where they go.
Make I dey stop anyhow for road, they cause traffic wahala and accidents. So I go dey stop for the right bus stop, because change begins with me.
Change begins with me.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
All right, we thank you so much for being there. And if you've just joined us, you're watching Good Morning Nigeria, and we are live on the NTA. Now, our the second leg of this discussion, we're looking at sustaining food security in Nigeria. We'll just lay a little foundation for that discussion. All our guests are actually seated to give us insight into it. But first, let's take this report put together by our agri correspondent, Musa Babaliu.
Who is hungry and what determines hunger have always been the bone of contention in African concept of access to food and that of the United Nations agencies. For instance, the World Food Programme says even when the food is accessible, it must be balanced to meet the minimum physiological needs.
In the tradition of the African setting, what we call food is just to have something on the table for you to put in your mouth to fill your tummy. But the concept of this generation now is different. When we are talking about a zero hunger world, we are talking about the nutritional safety and the food safety. It means the quality of food that you are consuming matters most.
The two definitions, however, put the number of hungry people around the world at close to 800 million people. The vast of the hungry people live in developing countries, where 12.9% of the population is undernourished.
Actually, people are going to bed hungry because of distribution. Research have also shown that we have enough food. The planet Earth is producing enough food for the world population, but the distribution is a problem. There is shortage and wastage.
In Nigeria, there have been different views on if the country is housing substantial number of people who have no access to 3 square meals a day.
A lot of, even the civil servants, among the civil servants, some cannot even boast of 2 square meals.
Some don't have, some don't really have. Why some have little, but not be enough for the children, depending the population they are in their home.
There is no hunger in this country, but if you say some inconveniences, yes. But if you say yes, probably I missed my breakfast, but I get lunch, or I missed lunch, I get dinner. That is all right, and is a little bit better than to have a total hunger.
Nigerians in urban areas are increasingly relying on away-from-home meals sourced from various vendors, although without prejudice to those who do nutritious food. A lot of these food from home are usually sodium, sugar, and trans fat laden, and sometimes of poor quality.
Nigeria and other 160 countries are celebrating this year's World Food Day with specific focus on zero hunger and balanced diet.
All right, now the guest with us in the studios to discuss this issue in further detail would like to welcome first Aziz Musbau Olumuyiwa. He's the Director, Agribusiness and Marketing, Federal Ministry of Agriculture, here with us in the Abuja studios.
Good morning.
Pleasure to have
good
you.
Morning, Nigeria. It's my having me.
All right. Also here with us is Architect Kabir Ibrahim, Vice President of Farmers Association of Nigeria.
Good morning, Nigerians.
Okay.
And we also have with us Sufyan Sanusi Koroma. He is a country rep, Food and Agricultural Organization of the UN to Nigeria and ECOWAS. Thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Good morning, Nigeria.
And also joining us via Skype is a regular on Good Morning Nigeria. He's Professor Abba Gambo. He's an agri-consultant, Nigeria Governors Forum. Thank you very much, Prof, for joining us on the program this morning.
Good morning, Nigeria.
All right, Professor Gambo, our Skype connection to you is very clear this time. So before hunger catches the Skype connection, let's begin with you. What is food security?
Thank you very much, Kingsley. Pleasure to see you again. Now, it's a very simple issue. Food security means, like in the report, balanced, affordable, accessible. Balanced, affordable, accessible. First, it should be affordable. That means you have the money, you can buy. Then secondly, it should be accessible. You have the money and you can buy what you want. And thirdly, it must be in a balanced form. The balanced form we are all talking about, which of course is the theme for this year's World Food Day, is that there are 4 classes of food that everybody must take every day for a person to have a balanced diet. First, what we call the meat and meat products. Second, what we call the milk and milk products. Then third, we have what we call grains and cereals. And then the last one is fruits and vegetables. Now, we've always said that the major problem is with the second classes of food, which is the milk and milk products. The intake of milk by Nigerians is among the lowest in the whole world. Children below the age of 5 are supposed to have maximum milk for increased IQ, but then they don't have it. And even when you grow up, you're supposed to be having continuous intake of milk because it's very good for brain development. So at the end of the day, when you look at the analysis, we have food everywhere, definitely. And then some can afford whatever. But then the truth of the matter is, Kingsley, less than, from our analysis, 25% of Nigerians are feeding well. Less than 25% of our countrymen and women are having balanced diet per day.
All right, Professor Gambo, I mean, does that speak to the state of Nigeria's food security?
Yes, it does. You know, the food security and national security are interwoven. There is no way you can separate the two. What we always say, a hungry man is an angry man. So if the country is not secured by food-wise, then definitely there will be a chain reaction of so many crises. The discussion you had, the first, I was keenly seeing you, and then it's so interesting, the security situation that we're talking in the Northeast, has started moving to the northwest. It has started moving into the north central. And now even you big guys that are in Abuja, fortified, you are still having problems. So this means a lot to what exactly is happening in the country now. If there is no good food security, definitely there wouldn't be good national security. This is universal concept all over the world.
All right, thank you very much.
Professor Gambo is saying big guy. Professor Gambo, once in a while, you are also a big guy because you come into the FCT.
All right, thank you very much, Professor Gambo. We'll get back to you. Let's bring in Aziz Musba Muyiwa. How secure are we in terms of food in Nigeria right now as we speak?
Yeah, thank you very much. And I want to congratulate Nigerians for witnessing another World Food Day as declared by the United Nations, that is the FAO. Now, let me quickly give the simple definition of food security. It's the A's, the 3 A's. We call it 3 A's. The availability, affordability, and accessibility. When you look at it, Nigeria is doing very, very well in terms of food production. We're increasing our productivities. Our production is increasing. When you look at maize, over and above that of last year, there is no food items we've not recorded substantial growth over and above that of last year. You know, but when you also look at some other things, like Professor Gambo rightly mentioned, you have to look at the availability. Is the food available? It's available. Nigeria is the largest producer of yams in the country. We are the largest producer of cassava in the world. We are the largest producer of cassava in the world, producing over 49 to 50 million metric tons. We are also producing maize. We've tried to double our maize, moving up to about 16 million metric tons. Look at rice, which is our major staple food, crops. We're doing very, very well. But if you go to by the definition of FAO of the United Nations, which defines the per capita consumption, the per capita consumption of rice of Nigeria is 45 kg per annum. The implication of this is that an average Nigerian eats a bag, almost 50 bag of rice per annum. That is the implication of it. Then when you now use this to calculate, our demand for rice, paddy rice, is 7 million metric tons. And we are doing close to 5.5 million metric tons, leaving a gap of 1 million metric tons. Let us quickly go to tomatoes. We are also trying to bridge the gap of the tomato production. We moved from what used to be 1.3 million to almost about 2.7 million metric tons. When you look at the gap between, it's less than 1 million metric tons. But when you look at all these crops, all these produce, you will want to agree with me that we are not doing badly in terms of food insecurity. There's also a regional food security committee that carries out a survey known as KEDA Harmonise. The KEDA Harmonise, the recent report, has also confirmed that Nigeria is not doing badly, even though we still have more to do to reach there, but we are not doing badly at all.
Okay. Aziz Olomuyiwa, thank you very much. But before we bring in the other 2 guests who haven't spoken, clarify this, because there are a number of mothers, other women who go to the market, and there are husbands who are viewing this program and they listen to the complaints when their wives return from the market. You're talking about cassava, bleeding cassava. I don't know what the price of a mudu of gari is now. You're talking about rice. We are, producing rice. I'm sure you have seen the prices of rice rise, since the partial closure of the borders. You're talking about tomatoes. If you go to Lagos, people will be telling you Ghana tomatoes. That is what they will be going for. I'm sure you have also been hearing about Cameroon pepper and Cameroon banana. So if people are having all of this in our market, where then is the justification for your claim as to food security?
Yeah,
because Professor Gambo said earlier that less than 25% of Nigerians.
Thank you very much. Yes. This is a very good question. I want Nigerians, to know about this. There is a saying in Yoruba saying that you are looking at a woman carrying a load and you are seeing the load tilting towards another side and you are wondering why. You have to find out whether that woman is balanced or not. The implication of this, if I translate it into, a farmer is also a businessman living within the contents of the Nigerian environment. The inflation as released recently by the National Bureau of Statistics is 11.23 to 11.28%. He has to pay for fuel, he has to pay for fertilizer, he has to pay for chemicals. When you even look at the cost of transportation alone, and that is why the current government is working on making the infrastructure available. Don't forget that agriculture in Nigeria is private sector led, while government enabled. We provide the infrastructure. Then secondly, let me go, apart from the inflation, let me go to a very interesting part of your question, which is valid. When you look at the rate of importation, the rate of smuggling of food items into Nigeria, thereby disincentify the Nigerian farmers. Take, for example, the issue of rice. You know that an average Republic of Benin's person does not eat polished rice. They don't eat long grain parboiled rice. What they eat is unpolished rice, which is white rice. And the population of Republic of Benin is less than 5 million. And when you look at the quantum of rice that is being imported, long grain imported grain that is being imported to Republic of Benin, you must know that the destination of that rice is Nigeria. And that is why the government has taken that decisive action. Look at tomato I have mentioned, for example. We've introduced a very high tariff between 5 to 50% on tomato paste. We've also introduced on every tons of tomato paste they are importing into the country, $1,200. And yet we are still getting it in Nigeria. So when there is trade aversion, when they bring this, and that is why it's now making the smuggled item very, very cheap. If you look at common external tariff, set is 0 to 5% on any food item being brought to Republic of Benin. And you know they all depend, most of these countries depend on us. So thereby making the food item brought into Nigeria cheaper than what is produced in Nigeria. I want to conclude by saying that you should look at farmers. He wants to make money, he wants to send children to school, and as a result, they are here. They have to get a return on their investment. And this is why you are only looking at the cost of price. You are not looking at the cost of the raw material for producing these food crops.
Kabir Ibrahim, let's get your take.
Well, so many issues have been raised and most of them valid. But I want to dwell on the farmer and the change of fortune that Kingsley and others are referring to as being Sherlock. When you sell, for instance, rice at $20,000, that is far less than $100. When you eat, if you go to any restaurant in England or the US, one man will spend $100 to eat or more. But that aside, I want to tell you that the farmers are very happy with the policies in place. We are doing limited protectionism, disallowing many things to come in because we are putting hurdles so that what we produce internally will have value. The farmer goes to the same market as everybody else. If we produce anything and we get good returns, we are happy and we are the majority. The smallholder farmers are like 70 million in this country. So people crying about food and all that are largely the small-scale farmers. The cry for food security and the claim that we have food security is ambitious, definitely. But we are going towards getting food sufficiency, which will lead to food security. I'm glad to say that so many people are now embracing agriculture because that space is where everybody should be. The government is making a lot of effort to make this possible, and we are grateful for that.
Okay, Architect Ibrahim, thanks. Let's bring in Sufyan Kuroma, who is the representative in country of the Food and Agriculture Organization. What is the reading of the FAO of the food security situation in Nigeria?
Thank you very much. Let me just add one dimension to what Aziz and Professor Gambo mentioned in terms of food security is the issue of stability. Because with the 3 A's, the access, the affordability, and there is also the utilization aspect. But the food has to be stable in its flow so that at least those price spikes that you mentioned and all the reasons could be that is what makes food affordable when there is a constant flow. But really, the theme of this year's World Food Day is actually healthy diets for a zero hunger world, which goes broadly beyond just food security, which is we've been talking here. It looks at the nutritional aspect in a safe, sufficient, and diverse food for healthy life and minimize the risk of disease. And this is, we can have as much food as we want, but if that food is not healthy, it is a problem. This is the problem now we face. In Nigeria, we are seeing that obesity, there's about 7% obesity in adults.
Really?
1 in 3 children are stunted, and 48% of women of reproductive age are anemic. So these are very, very alarming statistics that we need to look at. So the quality of the food we eat and how we eat it is critical. And this is what this World Food Day is all about. How we make sure we eat healthy. We can have all the cassava, all the yam, all the other products, but if they are not healthy. Yesterday we were in a book fair and there was a stand on aflatoxin that affects maize and groundnuts. As a matter of fact, the person there was saying because of this aflatoxin, Nigeria lost its comparative advantage in groundnuts. And the verdict is that Nigeria is losing $670 million annually in export revenue because of this disease. Now we have a problem of fall armyworm, which affects maize.
Yes.
And we in FAO, we have worked with the government here. We have tried to address it in 12 states. But there is a need to take it beyond that. Fall armyworm is going to cost several hundred millions of dollars because maize is not only a food crop, it is also animal feed, it is also an industrial crop. So these are the challenges that we are facing now. Nigeria is producing significant amount of food. The government has done significantly well, especially in the area of rice. And I see there is a drive for the type of policies. I mean, my friend Kabiru said we are adopting limited protectionism. I mean, that is very interesting. But it is important that I saw that the farmers are advocating for this. So in essence, there is food, but it has to meet those 3 A's and the stability aspect that is being. But the nature of World Food Day today is about healthy diets. It's about paying attention to the food we eat, how we eat it, and where it comes from.
Well, thank you very much, Sufyan Koroma. You talked about the theme of the FAO. That's understandable, getting a balanced diet. But getting a balanced diet, Professor Gambo already listed the quadrant that you will have for you to have a balanced diet. And here, you've also indicated that 1 in 3 children in Nigeria are stunted.
Yes.
And that the quality of the food that we get and how we also eat, there are challenges for us. I want Professor Abba Gambo to speak to this in terms of the stunting that Koroma has talked about and also the quality of what we get and how we eat what we get. Are these also not factors in our food security matrix?
Thank you very much, Kingsley. Now, firstly, I want to pay respects to your 3 guests. Coincidentally, I worked under each one of them, all of the 3 of them. Now, let's go a little bit practical. The major problem we're talking about, the missing gap, is the milk and the livestock. Now, just yesterday, I did an analysis at the Damaturu main market. A goat, 1 goat that was selling for 25,000 naira last year, it now sells for 40,000 naira. A sheep that was selling for 35,000 naira last year goes for about 50,000 naira now. Camel that was being sold for 330,000 naira last year goes for about 300,000 now. Ram that goes for 100,000 naira last year is about 150,000 naira now. And cows, the big bulls that are being shipped all over, a good one is about 400,000 naira last year. Today is about 600,000 naira. These are the exact figures from the market analysis I did yesterday. Let's go a little bit more practical. Near my house, Kingsley, there is a woman that sells masa. And every morning before I go to work, I send a boy to collect the masa for me. She usually puts the masa, 10 pieces, in a pack, well packaged, and then she'll put the pepper and everything by the side. So I know that every day is 10-10 because I can take 5, take my tea, and leave to the office and go with the other 5 in my bag so that I'll use it in the office. And just recently, I bought yesterday, it was 7. So as I was going out, I now said, madam, why are you reducing the number of masa? Or has it finished? She said, Oga, you don't go to the market, that's why. Every commodity, I repeat, every commodity that is being used as food in any kitchen in the country has gone up. Starting from salt to Ajinomoto to pepper, the Cameroonian pepper you're talking about, every single condiment, every single spice, every single protein, fish, meat, whatever, all the prices have gone up. And that's the true picture of it. Nigerians are eating, but they are not eating properly. Nigerians are hungry, and that is the truth. We live with the farmers, we are with them, we hear their cries, we also visit the farms, we go to the markets, we have all these things in our fingertips. There has to be some real motivations. Yes, the farmers will be happy, most especially for those that grew rice, because the rice price has actually increased. And I have the same analysis for the grains. Last year, rice was selling for 8,500, and this year, rice has gone up to 10,000 naira now in Damaturu, which is a very good thing. The farmers are happy, yes. And then the same thing for millet, which has actually gone down. It was 9,000 naira last year. This year, yesterday, was 8,200. Then sorghum has been static, 7,000 last year, 7,000 this year. Cowpea that was selling for 25,000 naira last year by this time is now 13,000 naira. So if some farmers in the rice value chain are happy, other farmers in the cowpea value chain are not really happy. And Kingsley, you have to take a special status of the situation that we are in the Northeast. You know, for long we've not been on our farms. As I'm talking to you, there are still about 21 different IDP camps in Borno. Locally in Yobe, we don't have any IDP camp. There is one IDP camp with 400,000 people, and all of them are from the shores of the Lake Chad. All of them are farmers or fishermen. They are now camped in one place, given a portion of rice once a day. So these 400,000 people have left the farming value chain. Then come a little bit further. The Meteorological Agency did a very good analysis. They said there will be some drought at the beginning. Yes, some farmers planted 3 times in Damaturu here, Yobe State. But then when the rain came, honestly, it will amaze you that more than 50% of farms have been flooded in Yobe State. As I'm talking to you, all their sesame, all their cowpea, all their millet are all submerged by flood. So I don't know. Farmers in maybe perhaps in the KB Sokoto rice corridor will be happy, but definitely farmers in the Yobe rice corridor are not happy. And there has to be some palliative as quickly as possible from my Oga Aziz. Let them know that people are suffering at the other side of the country, definitely. And those farmers need something. As the water is receding, we can give them some sweet potatoes, Irish potatoes, good varieties, early maturing cowpea, so that they can actually recoup what they have lost. But now as the situation is, the farmers have lost virtually everything. And don't forget, Kingsley, we've succeeded in making farming or agriculture a business in Nigeria. So it's a kind of investment. You put in your money with the sole idea of getting profit. But when you put in your money and then you are not getting any profit, Kingsley, why are you wasting your time on a farm?
Professor Abba Gambo, incidentally, I don't have a farm. and we'd like to thank you for the insights that you have provided. The masa that you used to get 10, now you are getting 7. We will save you some energy so that, you before you get into the classroom. Professor Abba Gambo is, of course, the Dean at Yobe University, and they joined us via Skype from Damaturu, the capital of Yobe State. Professor Gambo, thank you very much for your contribution. Okay, now let's return to the studios. Architect Kabir Ibrahim. We're not discussing the architecture. I mean, you're passionate about farming, president of Farmers Association of Nigeria. You can see the, shall we say, the yin and yang. You know, some farmers are happy because prices have gone up, but those, who are consumers, like the rest of us, minus you, of course, we are complaining. And of course, for some families, you would have to they may have to reorder their meals, and that could affect the balance of their diet. What, in your opinion, can we do? Because earlier you talked about limited protectionism. I mean, the fact that we have had to close our land borders, there are security implications. I'm not sure any Nigerian is quarreling about that apart from the smugglers. But what do we need to do? I mean, virtually every other item is spiking in terms of their prices.
Well, there are a number of things, but let me talk about what government can do quickly. If you identify flooding as a cause of setback to some farming communities, create a mechanism for compensating them, and create another enabling environment, like he said, to be able to get them back to agriculture. 3, you have to change your mindset in Nigeria. Everybody has to look at agriculture as the mainstay of the economy. Even though, we are on the way, the oil should be looked upon as a bonus. Even in budgeting, nobody says the Ministry of Agriculture should be given a large chunk of money to give out contracts. But look at those aspects like research, like the seed system, like extension, and then cross-cutting issues like transportation, the environment, good science and technology. Fund agriculture very well. Don't give 82 billion when the budget is 10.3 trillion to agriculture. Give $10 billion to agriculture once and let agriculture be changed completely. In the United States, what they do is they spend almost $1 billion every day on agriculture. That's why with $1 you buy takeaway tea, Roy Rogers, you drive from anywhere, Washington up to Pennsylvania, you stop over and buy tea, takeaway, $1. So there is food security there, and there could be food security in Nigeria.
One aspect you just raised now, I'd like you to drill on that before we bring in Aziz again. You're talking about adverse weather conditions. I mean, on Good Morning Nigeria, on at least 3 occasions this year, we focused on the looming climate disaster we're going to have in terms of flooding, and a number of farms, a number of properties have already been impacted. But you were saying government should look for a way of compensating them. What happens to agricultural insurance?
Well, I think there is a new lady there who is very practical. And now, the other day I was complaining to her that as far as we were concerned, in poultry, for instance, compensation is not forthcoming and is not adequate. She promises that it would be looked upon. If you do that, you would help agriculture, agricultural production. You must be able to pay appropriate compensation to losses in farming. Otherwise, the people will not go back to the farm. The food security we're talking about will just be in the newspapers.
All right, thank you very much, Kabir Ibrahim. Let's take the tweets that we have, and then we'll bring in Sufyan Koroba. Let's quickly take the tweets. This one is from Mike Anyaku. He says, an angry man, they say, is an angry man. And the importance of sustaining food security in the country cannot be overemphasized. A nation is at full independence with it. The recent closure of the borders couldn't have been possible without food security. Economic growth is guaranteed with food security and springing up of infant industries with backward and forward linkage effect. Kudos to the present government effort towards food security. We must sustain it. This is a task that must always be done.
Now, Nsima Splendid, on food security, the current measures by the federal government, that is to say border closure, is a step in the right direction. It will stimulate local production of agricultural produce.
And this one is from Ini Ibi Isaac Iboket. It says, we will only obtain food security when we change our perception about agriculture and fully mechanize it.
Law Al-Fasi, one of our regulars, Nigerians should develop the culture of patronizing and eating local foods, which are abundant at the nook and crannies of the country, thereby encouraging farmers to produce more.
Dilly Jack Solomon says, looking into national security, job creation, research and dissemination of knowledge on sustainable agricultural practice and use of technology development of value chain as well as circulation of knowledge on nutrition can go a long way to solve the issue of food security.
Now, Paul Adejubo has this tweet. It says, how? That's on food security. Farmers are being attacked daily by herdsmen and bandits on their farms. Many are fleeing their farms and their communities. Just yesterday in Benue, a woman's hand was chopped off by herdsmen while on her farm.
And this one is from Chris Simon. Chris Simon says, not everybody is willing to go into agriculture, so sustaining a food security may not likely be possible.
Now, Comrade Ngala, federal government should focus on farming and security of farmers too. Also, construction of dams in the geopolitical zones and soft loans to rural farmers will enhance food security.
And Mogbala Babs, he says, on food security, the border closure should be sustained a little longer. It's absolutely absurd that a country with very arable land and one of the best weathers in the world will open our borders to all sorts of imports, including banana from Benin Republic and Cameroon. He says, come on.
Sally Michael Amakoji, as an economist, not of the opinion that attaining food security should lead to outright ban of some food items. What the federal government should do is to increase import duties on those items in order to raise more revenue and even ensure healthy competition between importers and local sellers.
And Ogbeni Caesar says, as the federal government moves towards food sufficiency for the nation, mechanisms should be put in place to ensure that its untold economic effects are cushioned so the ordinary people won't feel the pain on the purchasing power. Nothing is as good as being self-sufficient as a nation.
Francis Obi has this tweet. It says, on food security, the government needs to do more. It should look at the programs of Dr. Akin, that will be Akinwumi Adesina, the former Minister of Agriculture, and continue from where he stopped. Politics should be removed from agricultural programs. All
right, those are the tweets that we have right now. Very quickly, just as we come to an end on the program this morning, let's get your closing thoughts. Sophia and Koroma, what do you... As you speak to the challenges that we have in terms of food security, as to the theme for this year in terms of have people, getting to eat balanced diets, not just eating.
Well, I think all has been said. The link between what Professor Gambo said and healthy diets is very clear. First of all, we need to have availability and affordability. Affordability is critical here. But for healthy diets, you need knowledge, and you need proper scientific advice. So there is a role for all stakeholders. There is a role for the government to harmonize and streamline its legislation. It should be clear what the Ministry of Agriculture, the Ministry of Trade, the Ministry of Health, what the SON is doing, what NAFDAC is doing. These all needs to be harmonized so that we get a consistent policy that would be an enabler with incentives to the farmers and knowledge to them on how to produce nutritious food.
Right. Thank you very much, Koroma. And the closing thoughts of Aziz Olomuyiwa. One issue, basic economics will tell you law of demand and supply. Is it possible for us at some point to have an oversupply? so that prices would crash. And then, of course, the farmers will also have their benefits through agricultural insurance. They will also have the benefit through marketing boards, which can then buy and then warehouse in the silos and so on and so forth. As you said, you go to there are some places you go to with just a few bucks in your pocket, you take a meal.
Yeah, thank you very much. Quickly, I want to answer that question to say that by using a proverb where I come from, they say the chicken is sweating, but you may not notice it because of the feathers. To say the farmers are trying, the government is also doing its best to ensure that we have food security. We're working towards that so that we produce enough, produce surplus, and bring down the price. But don't forget, the farmers too will have to smile to the bank. They are smiling to the bank now. So let's support them. And quickly to say that Nigeria is currently keeping the strategic food security stock for the whole West Africa. We're keeping it because we have the largest strategic storage capacity. And to also say, you asked a very good question the other time. You said, what do we do to ensure that you strike a balance between production as well as eating a balanced diet? We've done this through our food and nutrition strategies. One, what are we doing? We are now fortifying our food value chains. We have lysine, that is protein-rich maize now, which we are making available to the farmer to produce. As you are eating maize, you are eating balanced diet. We are having orange flesh potatoes, whereby you have all your balanced diet. You don't need to be rich to eat balanced diet. That's what we are trying to do. So we are increasing our knowledge.
You're saying the corn that is in season now, we're almost going out of season. It's part of this. The one they call mouth organ. You know that?
Yes.
Okay. With pear and coconut.
If you eat it now, you are eating a balanced diet because we are the kind of variety we are making available is high lysine maize. It has a lot of protein. It has a lot of vitamin. It has a lot of. We are also doing the same thing for cassava, which was otherwise referred to as a common food. So that when you eat it, you are rich.
But Aziz, you are not saying that somebody should take mouth organ in the morning, take mouth organ in the afternoon, take mouth organ in the evening.
Kabir Ibrahim, are you smiling to the bags?
Yes, we are.
Somehow.
You're smiling to the bags.
Yes, we are. But what I want to advise Nigerians to do is to allow themselves to appreciate that we can really have all we want if we eat what we grow, and we grow what we eat. And that is how our country will go forward. I live around the border in Katsina, the border with Niger. If you go to Maradi today, like we came into the studio, if you give us any drinks now, they will be made in Nigeria. And they could be local. Some from boba, some from turmeric, and all that. But in Nigeria, when I go to Sufyan's office, he gives me Coca-Cola or something, that probably is not it's hardly totally made in Nigeria. So we must learn to eat what we grow and grow what we eat. And that way we will get food sufficiency and food security.
All right. Thank you very much, Architect Kabir Ibrahim, President of Farmers Association of Nigeria. Thank you for coming on Good Morning Nigeria.
Welcome. Thank you.
Aziz Musbah Muyiwa is the Director, Agribusiness and Marketing, Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development. Thank you for your thoughts and time.
Thank you.
And also Sufyan Sanusi Koroma is the Country Rep Food and Agriculture Organization of the UN to Nigeria and ECOWAS. Thank you very much. Earlier on, we had Professor Gambo, who's also an agri-consultant. He joined us via Skype from Damaturu. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for being on the program this morning. All right, let's quickly take some news from the foreign scene.
Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has rejected a U.S. call for an immediate ceasefire in northern Syria. Erdogan's comments came ahead of a visit to Turkey by the U.S. Vice President and U.S. Secretary of State. Turkey had launched an offensive designed to drive away Kurdish troops after their main ally, the U.S., pulled out. Russia, which backs Syria, has said it prevents clashes between Turkish and Syrian forces, which have now moved into the area after a deal with the Kurds. Turkey considers elements of the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces, SDF, a terrorist organization and want to push them away from the border area. Ankara also says it wants to create a safe zone reaching about 30 kilometers into Syria to resettle up to 2 million Syrian refugees currently in Turkey. However, Syrian forces, which are backed by Russia, advanced north at the weekend following a deal with the Kurds to try to hold back the Turkish operation.
All right, let's eat what we grow and grow what we eat. That's our takeaway today from Good Morning Nigeria. We thank you for watching. We'll be back again tomorrow morning at 7. I am Rhoda Anona.
And of course, we've got to learn that the corn now is a very balanced meal.
That doesn't mean you eat it all day.
Not for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. In any case, the one you won't get it for breakfast because they don't start carrying it around until about noon. My name is Kingsley Osadolo. Thanking you for being with us. Enjoy the rest of your day.
NTA, you can't beat the reach.
You can follow us on all our social media platforms: Facebook at NTA Network News, Instagram at NTA Network, Twitter at NTA News Now, YouTube at NTA News Online. Or visit www.nta.ng. For live streaming, visit www.nta.ng/live. Now, you can stay updated on the go, be it on your TV, iPhone, laptop, or iPad, or download the NTA mobile application from your Play Store or App Store. NTA, you can beat the rich.
NTAE brings you the best of entertainment.
I thought I was being sarcastic.
I went on to do other productions.
Everything music.
Hear what Richmond is saying.
If you look at the platforms of
for a particular product,
they call a new school playing.
That thing they hot we go carry
the hair go come and
got the smell.
Somebody sad, you feel it.
Just a little. I know this. Chop, they are already washed.
To a president.
They depended on Jesus. What else can I do? Get a shower couple and dancers.
Watch these programs and more on NTA Entertainment. NTAE, your one-stop entertainment channel.
These days, people get their news and information from more media sources than ever before. Some of the news and information given are fake, unverified, doctored, and manufactured to create confusion, stir disaffection, and cause disunity. Before you believe or share any news, ask yourself, is this real? Is it from a credible source? Is it verified or verifiable? Fake news is dangerous. Whether you do it for fun or for political gains, real people can get hurt. Fake news, don't create it, don't spread it.
This is a public service announcement from NTA.
This is the network service of the NTA.
welcome to the conversations here on NTA Network. My name is Rita. As always, we have something interesting to talk about. We are going to be talking about migration or illegal migration. People have reason to move from one place to another, different reason. It could be for educational purpose, for marriage, for better opportunity, for job, for what can cause illegal migration. I'm not alone in the studio. I have a full house, a beautiful couch with fantastically looking people. Oh my God, when you're looking for that word to describe because you're fabulous. To my right.
Flattery will get you everywhere.
No, but I'm not flattering. I'm saying it as it is.
Okay.
I'm sure they can see that.
Thank you then. Okay, so I'm Dr. Jennifer Brimer. Everybody calls me Dr. B. Welcome to our show.
Chukuma. Ohaka, thank you.
We always say blessed is he amongst the women.
Yes, so.
And
I am Chi. It's so great to be here again.
We're talking migration or illegal migration. We'll be right back.
Slavery is an evil practice abolished all over the world over 200 years ago. But today, human traffickers are selling human beings as slaves in Africa. It is your responsibility to make sure that you and the people you know do not fall into slavery. Don't believe fake promises of jobs abroad.
People went to say Libya, Italy no use you when they carry me on top water. 4 days now they lock me for inside house, no food, no water. I nearly die. Now God, when me heaven and earth, now save me. If you get 1 naira for Nigeria, you get junior one, you say you no get papa, you no get mama, now make you come out. I beg go they do farm work. You better pass person when enter road.
Don't accept to travel to Europe through the Sahara Desert. You may be walking into slavery. Don't be a slave.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
I told you. Ehinom, you never listened to me. You promised me heaven and earth. I told you that does not matter to me. No call, no messages from you. Your mother is lonely. You know, you are all I deserve since your father left us. This is 4 years now that you travel with your friends to Bodoimbo to bring for us good things. No call from you. Even your friends come home. They even travel and come home and even call their parents. But you, no message, no call. They even attend Igwe festival. What have I done to you? Your mother is lonely. Your mother is lonely. Good afternoon. Are you my son?
Some things for you. You are still crying? Oh, Mama. I've told you not to. We are here for you. Look at me. I'm here for you. You shouldn't be doing this.
Yes, I know. But where is Ehinomo? You traveled with him, but you came back.
Actually, Mama, that is true. I actually traveled with him. We went together.
What is it that you don't want to tell me?
Hold on. Yes, I was there now. I Okay, you come. Please come. Okay.
What is it that you don't want to tell me? Kemi, what is it? Is my son dead? In the book of Revelation. Oyinbo people have killed me, oh, Salopua, oh. Eh? 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 My son? Oyinbo Salopua, oh. Oyinbo people have killed my son, oh. Hey! Stop this. Hey! Hey! Mama! 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 Please wake up.
Slavery is an evil practice abolished all over the world over 200 years ago. But today, human traffickers are selling human beings as slaves in Africa. It is your responsibility to make sure that you and the people you know do not fall into slavery. Don't believe fake promises of jobs abroad.
People went to say Libya, Italy no use you when they carry me on top water. 4 days now they lock me for inside house, no food, no water. I nearly die. Now God, when me heaven and earth, now save me. If you get 1 naira for Nigeria, you get junior one, you say you no get papa, you no get mama. Now make you come out. I beg go they do farm work. You better pass person when enter road.
Don't accept to travel to Europe through the Sahara Desert. You may be walking into slavery. Don't be a slave.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
Welcome back. It is still the conversations here on NTA Network, and we are talking migration or illegal migration. I keep saying that. But what causes illegal migration? Why do people move from one place to another? What are the dangers that are associated with migration? There's a lot of questions, but I have people in the studio with me, like I said earlier, that have answers or at least good explanations for all of this. I'm going to start from you again, Dr. B.
Okay.
People move a lot. You've had reasons to move yourself, maybe travel from one place to another. Sometimes it's not for permanent purposes. Sometimes it's just because you need to at that point in time. But we've realized that it leads to issues sometimes, depending on where you go to and why you went there. What has been your experience, whether personally or from those around you or from afar, as far as illegal migration is concerned?
Currently, I have a family member who's living in Italy, and he got there illegally. He went through the Sahara Desert, through Libya. He was captured, he was put in prison. He had to drink water from a dirty, smelly gutter where somebody had been lying dead for a few days. He was even praying to God to be able to pee so he can drink his urine. It was that bad. The friend that he journeyed with died on the way.
Oh my goodness.
They are raped. They are locked in prisons. They are fed one dry bread a day, a slice. They are asked to send money, to ask their folks back in Nigeria to send money to them so that they can be released. In other words, they are kind of kidnapped on their journey to greener pastures. Wow. So by the grace of God, he made it after several months. He was incarcerated in Libya, illegally incarcerated because he was an illegal migrant. And he escaped 3 times. Each time he was caught, he was beaten to within an inch of his life. But the 3rd time, he was able to escape. And the person who he paid this money to help him escape put him in an overfilled, overboarded, rickety sea vessel. Wow. He was lucky that that sea vessel did not capsize like is the usual case on TV. As I speak to you, he's been in Italy now for the past 2.5 years.
Wow.
Gradually rebuilding his life. Why did he leave? That is one of the reasons for the illegal migration. He left because of no opportunity as per his own perspective. This is a young guy who did not finish secondary school. He had every opportunity to finish secondary school, but he decided not to. He went into photography
but he wasn't making ends meet. He met a young girl, Beth and B's story, had a child with her, met another one, had another child. By the time he was 20, he had 2 kids from 2 different women.
Oh, wow.
And of course, he had to pay bills. And so when the photography wasn't, bringing in as much money as he thought it would bring, he decided to leave the country illegally. Because he doesn't have a regular job where when you apply for a visa, you show your pay stubs, show your bank statements, this and that and all of that, all the visa requirements, he met none. So he had to go through the back route, which is what he did. And he's alive to tell his own story, but a lot of people are not that lucky.
That's such a touching story. So people believe because, like, I love the phrase you use, because from his perspective, he can get a better life there. Because indeed it is his perspective. It depends on where you are and what you're looking at, right? Yes. Chukwuma.
Doctor's story is very, very, very pathetic. And I know a couple of people who are listening to us are equally planning what she is saying, planning to take this route that she just said. And I'm trying to encourage our listeners, our viewers also, to take a cue at what she just said. You can make it here. I know much as people say things are very hard, it's very difficult to survive here, but look at the route someone followed. And now, before this guy could get back himself, you would see all that he had gone through.
He had to live in a camp.
He lived in a camp. So
an IDP camp. Every day you go and register to tell them that you're here, you have not run away.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
So and imagine the kind of freedom he was enjoying. All he needed to have done would have been to be a little bit steadfast, push further a little, and organize his life. Most people who say that there are no greener pasture here are people who have also not tried. Because, yes, I believe that, yes, much as we agree that a lot of things are not properly done as it's supposed to be. The government's not helping, things are not properly put in place as it were. But it doesn't give the room for people to risk their lives trying to get what they... And unfortunately, is that you're not sure of where you're going.
Yeah, because like Jenny said, the brother or relative is alive to tell the story, but not a lot of people have that chance.
The person who started that journey with died
to tell the story.
I watched a clip on YouTube about people who were passing through the Sahara Desert, and I saw this myself. You see how they die. And if you watch this,
dehydration, exhaustion.
Yes, you begin to ask yourself, why do you want to take that risk?
The question that sometimes runs to my mind is, do they even know the danger they are getting into?
Okay, they don't know. That's now going back to the reasons or why people move.
Migrate, yes.
Lack of information. And a lot of people share another experience. There's someone, this is even recent, someone who felt life was difficult for him in Nigeria and said he has to go to Libya. And against all practical wisdom and advice, he said whatever he will see there will be way better than what he's experiencing in Nigeria.
A lot of them
and he moved. That he's brought somebody he knew had been there for like about 6 months, and he's surviving, that he would survive too. He got there. Within 2 weeks of being there, he was kidnapped. And now the kidnappers are demanding for ransom from his family, who have nothing. And this is the same family who you told, oh, I want to go there to make it, and then I'll send you money. But now you're adding a burden to this family.
Yes.
Now, that being said, some advocates will tell you, rather than call these people illegal or term it illegal migration, call it irregular migration. Because no human is illegal. People have the right. It is a fundamental human right to move. People can move from place to place.
But you have to do it the right way.
You have to do it the right way. So the question is, how are you doing it? Because you can't see a criminal, for instance, and say, oh, this person is a citizen of this country, but because the person is a criminal, the person is an illegal citizen, something like that. But by the time you use that phrase, illegal migrants, there's this feeling you have towards this person. You think this person is a criminal. You want to treat...
been profiled.
You've already profiled this person. And so even every other measures you're using to deal with this individual is from that point of view. This person is doing something criminal, something bad. So rather than use, I would say, and some advocates are saying, rather than use rather than refer to them as illegal migrants, refer to them as irregular migrants. People who are moving or out of status. They don't have a status. They are moving, but they're not moving the right way. And unfortunately, many of us don't know that when you go out there, it's not really as rosy because paints it. Yes. Because the traffickers will lure you, tell you different, give them information.
Bad that children to show you how important they are and how well, placed that family is. So she actually had a law that banned that. If you must do an announcement, you have 10 children, 5 girls, whatever, but we don't want to know where they live or where they are. And that went a long way. Now, still in the same city, the salon where we used to go do our hair as students, there is this young lady who was very good. And all of a sudden, we stopped seeing her. I can't remember the name now. What happened? They say, she don't follow her auntie go Italy. It was a tradition, sadly, and not just that city, not just Benin. I think there was a time when it was like in vogue for them to ship ladies, some of them under the guise of giving them jobs abroad, and some actually know that they are being shipped into prostitution.
Oh, they know.
Some of them know, and some think they are going to work in some salon or as a help, and they will serve this person for ABC time, and then they will go to school, but it never ends that way. Now, I think the thing that people need to know about this is, when you go anywhere and you are not legal, you are at high risk. Because people know they can do things to you and get away with it.
Take advantage of the situation. You're vulnerable.
They can do things and get away with it. People travel, people migrate legally, and they have a right. They can demand that you can't talk to me like that. Yes, I'm Nigerian, I'm here, but I'm working at ABC. I'm paying tax. I'm helping you. You can't talk to me like that. And that person know you have a right to sue them, take them to court, call your embassy, or you can't even relate to your embassy if you're, what's the word you use? Not illegal, irregular.
Yeah.
Okay, the question. Sorry. So the question is, what's the propeller? Why are people
moving?
Migrating. What is the reason?
It's the misconception. She just said because they feel they can get a better life, and also because we cannot deny the fact that we have a challenge.
There are lots of reasons.
A leadership challenge. We have a systemic challenge. There are a lot of things that can work better. That
Okay.
Are very bad.
Sorry, Doc. Let me give a scenario here. One is a barber. He has been doing this barbering business, using it to feed his family, trying his best with this barbering shop. And all of a sudden, someone comes, gives one law, and they demolish his shop. And he has no money to go anywhere else. And I come to tell him, young man, come, let's drive out of this country. This country is killing you.
That's enticing at that point.
That's his only hope.
We don't have good social safety
let me
net,
say something.
right?
Let me say something really quickly. Are you done?
Go ahead.
Let me say something really quickly. 19th September 2019. The United States, the United Nations released their annual migration report. And they put the percentage of global migrants, world migrants, at 3.5% of the world population.
It's probably more.
3.5% of the world population as at September 2019, 19th September 2019, is 272 million. That is 3.5% of 7 billion. That is what it is now. And it has been forecasted to increase in the next 10 years. As at 10 years ago, it was at 2.8% of 7 billion and counting. So they are saying that whether they are called irregular migrants, illegal migrants, aliens, whatever they want to be labeled as, migration will continue to be a thing of the present if overpopulation, trade liberalization, human trafficking, smugglers, conflicts, natural disasters, man-made disasters are not put at bay. These are some of the reasons why people migrate. So, what are we going to do about the risk factors for migration? It is when people, communities, societies, governments begin to tackle the reasons for migration, starting with overpopulation. Remember, we talked about family planning in one of our discussions. When we talk about overpopulation, we start to use family planning methods that will reduce the population of particular countries, that migration will begin to be a thing of the past. When governments are held accountable for creating opportunities for citizens to thrive,
when they
migration
will become responsible.
Migration will become a thing of the past. Things like xenophobia that is constantly happening in South Africa will be a thing of the past. You're xenophobic against people from other African countries, when the real problem is within your country. There, a small percentage of people who have taken you hostage You're supposed to go and fight those people legally. You're turning your anger against your brothers from African countries who are petty traders, who are barbers and chefs and road sweepers and have what they call them, corner stores. They are mechanics.
See the
These are the people
of that xenophobia.
These are the people that you're attacking.
You were telling me yesterday, Chi, that which other country have gone to
Malawi?
Malawi
to
has
evacuate
gone
their
to
citizens.
evacuate their citizens.
Yes, they're doing that.
No, the ripple effect with so much on South Africa.
They're doing that.
It's gradual and gradual. Before you know it, they would have lost more than they had bargained. But to come to the topic of discussion,
Illegal migration.
what are the governments doing? Because you know it's easy to condemn a young man who thought maybe going to South Africa, Malawi, Angola, Libya, Egypt,
US
America,
or
or anywhere to go get his greener pasture. We might blame them because we might, let's say, we know better. But what are the people in government doing? What policies have they come to check that people who are on this radar are equally protected?
Empowered.
Because a lot of things happen, and sometimes I sit to watch and I weep.
Yes, because if you do not create a vacuum, a lacuna, for these opportunists to exploit our doctors, our nurses, our unskilled labor, they will not do it. Even if, statistics puts it that the people who migrate illegally are people with unskilled skills.
Even the skilled ones. Well, legal, but
illegally,
in some way.
Unskilled people that are unskilled, that have dropped out of secondary school, did not finish university, and all of that. They do not have the proper papers to put in for their visas to be approved. So they go into these countries through the illegal route.
You know,
now, if even our elites or our graduates, doctors, nurses, they are leaving this country in droves. Why? Because even the environment where they are working is not favorable. One doctor attends to 5,000 patients. You pay the doctor peanuts. The doctor works from Monday to Sunday. You go to school for 6 to 8 years to graduate as a doctor, and you come out and they're paying you 200,000 a month.
What about lawyers?
That's less than $1,000.
Of course, you will write the next qualifying exam to go to America, United States Medical Licensing Exam, USMLE. You write PLAB to go to the UK.
You're talking of UK and the US. I've heard stories and I've seen medical professionals being shipped to countries like
Cyprus, Ukraine,
Saudi, all those places. And the people who recruit these people, they agree on a particular amount they are going to pay. And then when you get there, they would seize the passports of these people.
They do that.
And
Professionals.
because they're like agents. So whatever amount they're paying, you're getting a fraction of that.
It, yes.
And you must, it's like you're not enslaving yourself despite your qualifications because you are running away from a system that has refused to work.
Okay, now speaking about the system that has refused to work, I want to differ a little with regards to the economic reasons why people migrate.
Yes.
Migration irregularly is not cheap.
It's not.
So some people, those people who really are poor, don't migrate because they cannot afford it. Those who migrate using the so-called illegal route are those who have at least 800,000 naira.
In Benin, just to butt in before you finish your thought, they sell houses.
I wanted her to finish.
They will sell their
house. They sell village land.
So why can't you use, if why can't you use the money to do something? There's something else I'm coming to. Why can't you use the money to do something, start a small business here?
Yes.
Because you'll be better off of where you go. And it still boils down to lack of information. And one thing that people have also found out, it's more recent that they're looking into it, is the family unit.
Yes.
When you go to apply for a visa, one of the reasons when they're looking at ties, they look at family ties because they know if you're close to your family, you won't want to be away 20 years without seeing your family members. But because we're eroding, the family unit is eroding now, people are not really close within the families anymore.
So it's not a big deal.
So it's not a big deal if they abandon their family members and disappear for 20 years, for 30 years, whatever. So if we start the culture of ensuring that the family units we call it close-knit, we're really close, It will also deter people who want to listen to people, want to take advantage of them to migrate, because they know once they get there, they go seek for asylum, for instance, there's a number of years they'll tell you can't go back and see your family.
Yes.
So if we start dealing with that issue, what is happening within the family sector? The family members are the ones telling you, oh, what are your mates doing? Go out.
Exactly.
So, you know, once the parents are not encouraging them to use any means possible to move, why would they want to move? You talk about the prostitution and rape that happens. Most of these girls who are trafficked, do you know they stuff them with contraceptives?
They do.
Why would I want them to be stuffed with contraceptive without asking, why are you stuffing me with contraceptives?
Some of them are aware,
They are aware, that's what I'm saying. Because they know they might get raped. They don't want them to get pregnant. They want them to be good commodity when they get there. Because they can sell them.
That brings me to the next thing I wanted us to look at. The issue of gender and migration. It is generally believed, and I think we might all agree, maybe by show of hands, are the females more at risk?
Of course.
Illegal trafficking.
Yeah.
Yes.
Of course, human trafficking.
Females
Of
are more
course.
at risk.
Of course.
Not just
Even
being,
children.
not just being trafficked, but the danger.
Yes.
With women and
We
children.
are always more
Yes.
vulnerable. Always. Always more vulnerable.
There is even a statistic saying that if you have 4 children who are trafficked, the possibility of 3 being abused or taken advantage of is, in fact, you have the possibility of 3 out of these 4 being taken advantage
That's
of.
it.
It's really high.
You talked about what is the government doing about it. Let me tell you one thing that the government is not doing. When they pass laws such as anti-LGBTQ laws, where if you're a homosexual and you're living openly as a gay person, you'll be prosecuted. What will that person do, or will those category of people do? They go seek asylum. Yeah. Canada offers asylum. Australia offers asylum. America offers asylum for people from the LGBTQ community.
I'm smiling. I won't tell you the thought that I'm thinking.
Now, talking about Mrs. Igbenedion and her Renaissance club or enterprise that time, do you know this lady went to Italy herself, personally, to beg the girls to come home?
And some of them won't.
And now, we're not even talking about then. Right now, it is still happening. The Oba of Benin had to rise up and place a curse
on those shipping these people
on native doctors and the madams and the ogas that are shipping young girls to Italy for prostitution. Because a lot of times, these girls are beholden to their madams and they are scared of the oaths that the babalawo, whatever they call them, have placed on them. They showed them on TV, documentary. They said, why can you're free, why don't you leave? They said they cannot leave because of the oaths and the curses.
And they will shave their privates and take the hair and keep it somewhere.
So these are some of the things that the government need to look at to reverse some of their utterances or some of the laws to favor the citizens of this country.
But we've had, I don't know whether to call it person, someone in government say that there is nothing wrong, right? Speaking about medical doctors, something that happened in the past, said we have enough doctors. So
let's not go there. Let's not go there.
He's not even wrong. Every year, all the universities in Nigeria churn out doctors.
Are they being employed?
We don't have enough.
That's the thing.
And in this country, it's
supposed to be. I think what they currently have.
To 500.
What they have currently now, that's what's supposed to be one doctor to either 450, 500.
But we have
one doctor,
5,000.
1 to 5 or 6,000.
And then when these doctors
very wrong.
And this is in Nigeria.
We don't have enough. 90% more what they have now for us to be.
And now you're saying we have enough doctors.
And then these countries are busy calling you. Canada needs 260,000 doctors.
You with
pay
all
the highest wages.
offer.
Where would they not go?
You said
every day, Canada is making migration easier. Every day, they're making migration easier.
At least that one is legal.
We're talking about irregular.
Yes, at least
I'm coming at something. There's something she said.
You know?
She said something that those who do this waka are a little bit buoyant. I disagree.
I disagree.
No,
I
don't think she said they're buoyant. They go out of their way to make the money to do it.
She said they would have at least. It's not
some
cheap.
Money to do
I agree, it's not cheap. But they go all out.
Yes.
Some sell their family native land to go there because why they are doing that, they believe that this is their last hope.
Yes.
And then you get kidnapped in Libya. Who are you helping out?
Now the question is,
family whose land you sold and the ones that send you for money to pay your ransom.
They will tell you this. Listen, no, they will tell you this also. That they also kidnap in Nigeria.
They do.
They also kill in Nigeria.
They do.
They will kill terrorism in Nigeria. So they'll have every reason to knock off whatever you are saying.
Yes.
But what we are
That
saying
is
is
the
this.
person who have decided no matter what you say,
truth is this.
I'm going.
Rita, the truth is this. The environment where we live today calls for everybody to run away. Whether we like it or not. No, I'm coming. Let me land. Sorry, can I land first?
Say in
Doctor,
Nigeria we have 200 million
Doctor,
people.
can I land?
Out of that 200 million people, 80% live below poverty line. 20% are middle class and they are wealthy. So what is 80% of 200 million?
Doctor, can I land?
What is 80% of 200 million? Those are the people that want to run away.
The majority.
Who will be left?
That's the majority. I'm right. Now, what are we doing? Because we are clapping to the Air Peace man that just went to South Africa to bring these people back home. What are they coming to do?
Exactly.
What are the reintegration plan that we have for them?
I have asked that question.
What's the reintegration plan that we have for them? Now, you're making school. How many of us here have our children in public schools?
None.
How many of us have our children in public schools? The public schools, the standard in public schools are going down.
Going down? It's gone down. It's dead.
And if it's not a private school, you're not sending your children there. And you know the culture we live in, a culture where your neighbor is cooking rice and is doing ice fish, and you're not cooking rice with ice fish, and he will come and serve his children rice with ice fish in front of your own children, and they'll be salivating watching.
Exactly.
You see, and listen, sorry. Much as I am not in support of illegal migration, but there are certain things that government need to do. We need to come up with policies.
For instance, to get a working system. If you're abroad and you don't have a job, at least you know you have power supply in your house. Yeah,
I don't
for people.
Government
in
should.
that,
So
in
what I'm
that
saying
area.
is,
Let's hear from Chi.
I am not saying you can move. Migration is a basic human right. If you feel you want to move, no one is saying don't move. But what we're saying is don't do it the wrong way. There are so many ways for you to migrate.
Yes.
Why don't you go seek information? You have Google. Go search on Google. You only go there to troll celebrities. We have some centers, resource centers for migrant resource centers in Nigeria where you can get information. That boils down to the government, where you can get information about these countries you want to go to, opportunities, how to get there. So why don't you guess what? And get information.
They do not want to go to countries that are visa free for Nigeria because they feel that those countries.
No, this country is not visa free.
Visa free. You have a limit to which you can stay. You can work there.
All of the countries.
Doctor,
it's 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 1 year.
She's speaking from from where she's sitting, from her comfort zone. She's speaking from her knowledge base. There are people in my village who don't know about Google.
They don't know what it is.
Okay. Yeah, there are people in the north who don't know about Google.
And then why
but listen, let me say this. Government should not create job. Government
people should become
sorry.
environment.
It is not the responsibility of government to create jobs. I feel sad. I feel sad when it's not supposed to be so. The government's job is to create the enabling environment for jobs to grow.
Yes.
In Nigeria today, you start an SME and all of a sudden there are taxes all on you.
Multiple taxation.
Today, if it's not AMAC, it's this government, it's that government, it's that government. Before you know it, nobody's caring to ask you a question. How did you raise this capital?
Exactly.
The next day, people give you taxes. Before you know it, they are selling your shop. The next day, they're coming to. Nobody wants to know how you got that money.
So
as long as
policies are not friendly. The system frustrates people who want to. Nigerians are the most hard-working people on earth.
I believe you.
They want to do anything to survive.
Just to align my thoughts with what she was driving at, I believe. Do people really have enough information about the dangers?
They don't.
About the dangers.
They do not.
The kind of danger they place themselves in when they do.
Have you heard about this saying that says when a man is pushed to the wall? When a man is pushed to the wall, has no option. Okay. These people are, I am not making a case for them. I'm not going to give it for free. I wouldn't. But the truth is this. When we try to make it look like it's all rosy for these guys, you've not seen ugly people.
We're not saying it's rosy for them. We're saying, do you know that majority of these people who travel through the Mediterranean or the Sahara Desert and the rest of them have not even got to apply for visa. They just heard it is difficult. If I apply, they won't give me. But I know families. I know two families.
Is it easy?
No, but try. Why don't you try first?
It's easy.
I know
have
a couple who had never traveled. The guy used to work in a bank. He earns 35,000 naira every month. His wife was a full-time housewife. And then both of them went to the US to apply, and both of them were given visas. They got there after some time with the same visitor's visa. He wanted to legalize his stay. What did he do? He got there, changed his status to a student. Now, as a student, he applied for his wife and kids to come join him in the US. They granted them visa. Yes. This is someone who earned 35,000 naira monthly.
How many cases?
$100.
How many cases? Sorry, how many cases can just come like this?
But we don't
it's
try.
few and far between.
We don't try.
Listen.
But the thing is, it is easier for someone to come and tell you, give me 800,000. You don't need to go to the visa office or to VFS center, and I'll get you a visa in 2 weeks. And before you know what is happening, the person gives you a visa. You try and go through the airport, they catch you and say, this is a fake visa.
No, there are some orientation gaps. There are orientation gaps.
And these gaps need to be filled.
That's what I'm talking about, exactly.
The orientation gaps from the local government level.
Yes.
Right.
You understand?
Yes. Maybe from the family level, like
from the
family, local government.
The church, the mosque, everywhere. It has to get from the grassroots. The reorientation. But while you are giving these people orientation, you also should give them hopes.
Yes.
Because they say you cannot come to a hungry man's house. Someone who is hungry, and you tell him, don't worry, it is well. You have to give him food to eat for him to know that it's well.
Exactly.
If you're giving orientation for people to know that it is risky to go through this route, it is this, you also should give them an alternative. Now, if you're telling me that I should be a palm wine tapper in my village, you should also give me a means where I tap that wine, I'll be able to sell it and use my money.
Exactly.
You understand? Because there are lots of jobs to do in Nigeria today, but the environment is not friendly.
It's not friendly.
You cannot do... I have a barber today.
We have agreed.
Products go to waste.
Yes, we have agreed that the government just needs to create an enabling environment, and then we need to also incorporate into our youths, even adults, the spirit of entrepreneurship.
There's a question.
I am saying
the spirit of diversity.
Do the right way.
There's something else you raised, which is, I think, is very important. Chuma, you said mention of these people that they are bringing back. What is?
I've asked that question.
When you have irregular migrants, and at some point, I did a story when I went for my last training at RNTC. A colleague of mine did a story about a guy who came from Libya. He migrated to the Netherlands. And when we were interviewing him, he said, I don't mean to kill anyone or attack anyone. All I just say is, I'm from Libya, and then they are scared of me.
Yes.
That's all he needs to say. And they're like, oh, so there is a stigma? So you haven't migrated irregularly? There are side effects to it. So when the people decide, okay, this particular island was generous enough and they brought them back, what plans do we have to make sure these people are not stigmatized?
Listen to what one of the people in charge of diaspora affairs said, that each state government should locate their citizen and begin to reintegrate them.
How?
And that while they are being housed in places like Abuja and Lagos, they're going to be fed, and they're going to start to see if they can teach them one skill or the other. Now, there's a young man who came in. He said he's been in South Africa for 20 years, that his state of origin is Bendel, and he's looking for Bendel.
Oh, goodness me.
Meaning he's been there for God knows how long.
And he's not just been there, he's been out of touch.
The young man does not know Benin, he does not know Delta.
So there's a lot needs to be done.
serious.
A lot needs to be done before we even begin to read.
Now they can't even afford to buy. How much is... Okay, I can afford. I'm privileged. Let me not generalize it. But how much is air ticket from South Africa to Nigeria that they cannot afford? These are people who have been there for years.
So this is what I said.
To show you that when they now migrate, because they do it the wrong way, when they are being persecuted, they can't fight back. They can't seek for help because they don't even have... That
is the same thing I said earlier. The people who are the recipients of this xenophobic attack are people who are in the lower socioeconomic cadre. They are the mechanics, the hairdressers, the people who have the corner stores, who are illegal and cannot fight back.
The issue of awareness and cultural influence is another thing. Now, if you are an irregular migrant and you are in another country, people need to know that if you're going through difficult time, you have the right to go and declare at your embassy and say, I'm irregular, I don't want to be here, please send me home. And they will send you home, right?
You know some people, they are afraid. You know some people who don't want to be deported.
That's one. Then two, there is also the issue of the parents are like, You can't come back here and disgrace us. We have already told everybody you are in.
That impression that okay, we have a son abroad.
Exactly.
For those
somebody from prison.
For those who like to refer to one of the reasons they give for not wanting to, or arguments
to go and declare.
One of the arguments they give for not calling people illegal migrants is because they say a lot of people are forced to migrate.
Right.
Because, like you said, security, crisis, whatever it is. So for such people, when they even migrate the wrong way, they can stay in a country for years, not get involved in any criminal activity, be of the best behavior, living under the radar, no problem at all.
Yes.
So for such people, if you want them to go back, it's going to be a problem.
Yes.
Because they were running from something.
Yes.
So taking them back,
back,
it's a problem.
Exactly.
So, and unfortunately for them, or because of the way we migrate, when a lot of Nigerians fight for asylum, because they tell them, okay, move to this country and fight for asylum, many get refused.
Yes.
Germany last time deported over 20,000 Nigerians, or said they were going to deport over...
Which country?
Germany.
Wow.
And they were going to deport over 20,000
Nigerians.
They also go to seek for asylum, and they say, listen, your government is not persecuting you, there is no war in your country, why are you seeking for asylum?
No, but even
there are other reasons.
Even
my
the Boko
Haram is circumcised, they are forcing my 14-year-old to get married, there's all
female
kinds of
genital
stories.
mutilation, LGBTQ, what's it called, persecution, what is it called, Boko Haram terrorism. These are the reasons why people are leaving Nigeria. And I'm telling you,
have an integration plan. Is that what
the same thing she said about...
Have you really checked where they're coming from? Those people seeking for asylum. Are they from Maiduguri?
They're not checking.
Are they from Borno?
I know someone who's living in Germany right now. He's from Enugu State, but he sought for asylum and he left this country. What happened in Enugu State that he left?
Boko Haram. He will claim Boko Haram.
Cattle herdsmen clash. That is why he left.
It could have been possible.
13
No, it could have been possible. It could have been that the person that you heard was raped, or could have been his sister, his mother, his grandmother. Kidnapping could make you relocate.
Lots of reasons to leave.
Insecurity could make you relocate.
We know. But do it the right way.
With the thousands of illegal migration of young people out of the country, there is the need to look inward for opportunities here in Nigeria.
Always being an advocate that there's no need to travel out of Nigeria, especially for unskilled youths. We have a lot of things to do and make money in Nigeria. The issue of xenophobic attack in South Africa, I've traveled to South Africa and I see that these are brothers do menial jobs that they are not even supposed to do in Nigeria. So why would somebody live in Nigeria and go to South Africa to sell apple, a fully grown man? And where there are the 25 returnees from Libya, we train them here. If you make one furniture here and you get one customer and we make the furniture, you get 50,000 naira. So if you get 50,000 naira in a month, is it not enough salary? If it is garment and you go and canvas, you get people that will do t-shirt for 100 pieces, you make money. Even if you are not the one making it, if you are doing the business part of it. Among the people we train, they establish little things and they make good money too. Even me, if you take this cloth to an ordinary tailor in his house, among those that we've trained, they will not make it cheaper than 3,000, 4,000 naira. If he makes 5 in a month, 6 in a month, it's enough salary. So my advice to Nigerian youth is that everything we want from abroad is here. The only thing is for us to keep our head down and be able to accept skill training. As the year grows, you become a bigger person in that handwork, and you grow to be a full professional.
I know 2 women, 2 grandmothers. Their sons migrated at the same time. One legally, the other one illegally. The one that migrated legally, by the end of 12 months, this guy has sent cars, has sent money to buy land. They started foundation. The one that immigrated illegally, the mother had not even had one phone call from this boy, and she was having hypertension. Her blood pressure was skyrocketing. And I said to her, Mama, sit down, let me talk to you. And I said to her, because she was telling me her neighbor this, her neighbor that, they have built a house, this one and that one. I said, Mama, how your pikin take go? You go embassy, mama said no. Say na one man, they tell her, say bring money, I will give you paper.
Visa.
Mama, then your pikin where they call, say never send money, make you buy motor, make you build house. That pikin fit never reach where they go. That pikin fit don't lost for desert. That pikin fit don't die. Make you pray, say make you hear his voice first. Before you begin say no buy motor, no build house. So this is the kind of orientation we also need, that we'll all be talking about.
Yeah.
We need the information.
Our listeners and our viewers should know that it is very wrong to do, whether irregular or illegal.
Yes.
It is very, very wrong. But much burden should be to our government. Your citizens are living. What are you doing about it? What measures are you putting in place to keep them back? Because
grow the economy.
if you have a son who always goes out, every minute, every day, he goes out to your neighbor's house to watch television, and you've warned him severally not to go outside to watch television, even if it's black and white television, buy people out. People get fired on daily basis. I read about a company that fired 400 of its staff last week. Now you fired someone who has been feeding his family from this job, and he has nothing else to look into. And all of a sudden, someone tells the person, "Auntie, you know, say with this your little savings now, if you give me this 500,000, we will go Canada. Yes. And if we go Canada, you will get job. You will begin to send $1. In case you went travel the other day, let me do it." She would not listen to Chi.
But it's a wrong information.
But yes.
No, it's wrong.
No, quite all right. I try not to, because you guys are dwelling on the government angle. I try to dwell on other angles.
I'm not even really dwelling
the
on the
government should carry out more sensitization campaigns to go back to the rural communities, local as low as
they
local
did that
area.
for a while.
They should continue.
They need to continue.
National orientation agents, what are you doing?
Yeah, nothing.
Go down there.
You know the interesting thing?
Yes.
If you go to these countries, they have adverts out warning people not to migrate using ABC. They have adverts like that in Canada, and some places in the US you will get that. But you who are at risk
don't have the information.
We're not even sharing enough information
at all
about what could go wrong.
Yes.
That's why I keep referring to the Renaissance by Kate Binedion and what she did, because I thought that was really, really brave.
Yes.
Rita,
because
remember,
she was fighting against
she went to Italy personally.
Rita, there is this saying: "He that is down does what? Needs fear no fall."
Exactly. You're
the man where they ground, not they fear whether he go fall.
You're already on the ground.
These guys have nothing
to lose. You think?
See, truth is this: where the system is wrong, a lot of things will be wrong.
Yep.
I am not saying people should go out of the country. Like, I keep saying it till tomorrow. We are the most hardworking people on this planet Earth. Nigerians survive anywhere. All a Nigerian needs is give me a good environment, I will give you something. Give me a conducive atmosphere, I will deliver. We have all the best talents in the world. We do. But when we do not have a place to display it, check out, there is no football club that you mentioned in the world that you won't hear about Nigeria.
One Nigerian.
There's no place, and you look at these footballers, they're not well educated, they're not from flamboyant home.
But they have a sellable skill.
They have a sellable skill.
And
because someone helped them groom that. And not everyone is talented.
Yes.
I have a barber today, she's leaving Nigeria, she's going out of the country. Why? She's paying so much rent, every time she's using this, she's doing that, she's doing that. The thing is killing her. She wants to sell up, she wants to live in Nigeria. And I've been talking to her on how to change her mind, to be consistent with her business for a better tomorrow. But when she tells you how many taxes that come on her shop on daily basis, nobody cares to know how much she has cut on her on daily basis. And you're giving her tax because you think she has a hairdresser. Have you asked how she got her money to come into business?
And now guess what? These Nigerians that are migrating, whether legally or illegally, when they get to their countries of destination or their countries of choice, guess what happens? By the time they manage to stabilize themselves, they become superstars in their fields.
Of course.
They excel. Whether it's a doctor, whether it's a nurse, a barber, a footballer.
And they're well behaved.
The next thing you hear them running for Congress in their adopted country. Canada has the first Nigerian, first black person.
Yes, after 150 years.
Elected to Congress. A young girl of 30-something.
Oh, we have less than 30 in the UK,
The same thing happened, less, 30-something too. The same thing happened in America. For the first time in the history, a Nigerian became a councilwoman in Mississippi. Mississippi, that was the last country. It was even in 2013 that they sent in the final documentation to abolish slavery. Slavery that was abolished since 1865. They sent their documentation complete 2013. A black woman, a Muslim hijab-wearing woman from Nigeria won a council seat. These are immigrants from Nigeria.
The point I think you're
a medical doctor in Nigeria brought out a baby from the womb.
They can't be excellent.
This baby,
and to give
the baby back
is that not the former governor
and the baby carried the woman carried the baby to whom?
Isn't that the former governor of which state now in the East?
No.
This is in the
It's a Yoruba guy. It's a Yoruba guy.
A Yoruba guy in the US, the chief surgeon of one hospital. Chief surgeon of that hospital.
See, truth is
we are brilliant. We just need to be given the opportunity.
We should focus on the right things. How to harness this our talent, how to convert this talent to something. I keep saying it that SMEs are the greatest providers of jobs.
They are.
It
Till tomorrow.
sounds like a very good place to end
and we
the
have
conversation.
arable land everywhere.
Absolutely.
Agriculture fits the world.
You see, we have so much to talk about when it comes to migration, whether it is illegal or irregular migration. But one thing I think we can all take away from this conversation is there are legal ways to migrate. It is better you are patient and follow that route and then be safe, because at the end of the day, the greener pasture you're looking for, you have to be alive to get there and enjoy it. So your safety first, seek for information and do the right thing if you have to migrate. Thank you so much for joining us on the show today. It's been a conversation right here on NTA Network. A big thank you to, okay, she's going to say I'm flattering, to the fantastic co-discussants I had on the show today. Chi, thank you so much. Chikuma, thank you. And of course, Dr. B.
Until next time.
We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.